Hello, everybody. I believe we are finally live. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the BTR stream. Welcome to another episode of the Break the Rules stream. It is a great pleasure to be here with you again. Happy Thanksgiving break, everybody. My name is Alexander Polyakov, as many of you know, at LeftPo on Twitter. And just God bless you. That's what I'm going to say from the very beginning of this Aleister Crowley stream. God bless you. Blessings from all the angels and the seraphim and all of these great entities that are here to protect us and bless us in this great stream, as we're going to talk about the great beast himself, Aleister Crowley. And with us, we have a lot of great people. We have Georgina Rose, a.k.a. Dot Darling. And by the way, Dot is forbidden to be said by like very strict Orthodox Jews. It's the well, we're gonna get into that later. But anyway, we have a lot of great people in here. We have also got Culture Bar back with us. Thank you so much for coming in. We've got Hermes Thurston. We've got Giovanni Panacchietti, Bella with the new headphones and the rocking the beautiful beard. We've got the modern hermeticist back here. We've got Jake Childerberg back here, and for the very first time, a recommendation of Evie. So Evie, this one's for you. We got over here Elliot Rosenstock, Zero Books Elliot Rosenstock. So thank you so much for coming in. And in fact, since you are the new guy here, can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we start?
Sure. I'm definitely maybe a bit different than the rest of like the Crowley heads that might be here. The book that I've written recently is called The Ego and Its Hyperstate: The Dialectical Dream Theory of Self-Interest. So I'm definitely into kind of mystic takes and perceptions, but mostly I'm a psychotherapist. I study Lacan and Hegel. I'm one of those guys. You've met those guys before. You've met that, but I'm a little different. So I could give you the short version, so you don't have to spend too much time racking your brain. Who is this guy personally? You've met, of course, people that like Zizek and Lacan and Hegel. I'm a little different in that I go from the lens of Freudian dream theory, specifically the mechanisms that Freud describes of how objects come together and form these kind of molecules, or you could say like assemblages, like we're an assemblage, and how that relates to the theory of psychological egoism, because it's Crowley stream, right? That's probably why I was recommended. Or inescapable self-interest. Of course, Crowley, do what thou wilt, right? And what that means, and what does it mean to do what you will, and what do you create when you give yourself that imperative, right? So that's me. And as we go along, I'm sure I can contribute something.
Excellent.
to the
I've seen you on Justin Murphy's stream a number of times. You were pretty good.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love Murphy. Murphy gets a lot of shit, but
No, Murphy's great. So, and by the way, I forgot to say it. Everybody subscribe.
Friend of the show, by the way.
Yes, friend of the show. We interviewed Justin Murphy. Check it out. It's a great episode. He was arguing back and forth with this leftist professor guy who is MIA right now. I mean, he's on Instagram, but he's not on Twitter anymore. Anyway, what I want to get to here first and foremost is to ask every new person here to please subscribe right now. We got to grow this thing. We've already passed 2,000 subscribers, and we are so grateful to have everybody here with us. And also, if you go to patreon.com/breaktherules and you become a $20 member, you are going to get one of my father's completely random, completely one-of-a-kind wooden magnets made out of fine wooden quality. Just take a look at this beautiful wooden grain quality, and perhaps randomly he's going to make like a definitely legit magnet or something. He's going to surprise you. So you never know what you're going to get. And of course, if you become a $30 member, you are going to get one of Giovanni Panacchietti's beautiful prints from the TFW and OGF series. These are very exquisite. I always say the word exquisite, but I mean it. These are very exquisite prints, so be sure to get them. And if you become a $50 member of our Patreon, you are going to get also, beyond all of this other stuff, you are going to get a a completely custom wooden magnet, whatever you want, whatever design you want. My father, Alexander Polyakov, is going to make it for you. So with that being said, let us go to Dot Darling, and you are a Thelemite, and can you tell us a little bit how you became a Thelemite, and maybe certain misconceptions people have about Thelemites that you would want to address first and foremost?
Yeah, hi. I'm Georgina Rose. I'm a Thelemite and ceremonial magician. I've been a Thelemite for quite a bit of time. When I got into the occult, I mostly got into it out of just an interest in superstition, mysticism. I just was reading a lot. And I got really into originally like traditional witchcraft, Sabbatic witchcraft type stuff with like Andrew Chumbly and the cult of Sabbati. And through that, I found out about Jack Parsons, and then I went back and found out about Crowley. So it was like this weird kind of backwards loop to getting to it. And so I started doing the Thalemic Rituals, and they really worked for me, and I really connected with it. I got really into Kabbalah and kind of that whole sphere. I think the big things people don't get about Thelema is Thelema is portrayed as like very edgy. And it's not as edgy as it kind of looks online. You see these like headlines about Aleister Crowley about how he's like the most wicked man in the world and all these very intense claims. And they were largely like exaggerated. And Crowley kind of enjoyed toying with the media a lot. He kind of liked it when they reported these sensational stories about him. It kind of like entertained him, sort of like he's the original internet troll, except in the Victorian era. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And so because of that, there's just a lot of kind of misconceptions about Thelema. There definitely is some things that are a bit on the edgy, out there fringe side, but it's definitely built up. I think Thelemites are sort of misconstrued for being a lot more kind of hedonistic than a lot of them are. I think that during like the 40s when Agape Lodge was huge and Jack Parsons was doing all this stuff, like there was kind of that hedonistic stuff going on. And there are some Thelemites who still do that, but not every Thelemite is like that. And I think because we see people like Crowley and these big kind of media headlines and films like Strange Angel, like you kind of get this idea that Thelemites are like really edgy and hedonistic. But not everyone is. I'm a lot more boring than that, and I don't know, I just think a big misconception is just the way Thelema is viewed. It's not even really like satanic or kind of like it's nothing compared to like the kind of like true left-hand path, like Dragon Rouge type edgy anti-autonoman, that word type stuff. I don't know, I just think people build it up a lot more than it really is. And when you look at it, like break it down, it's honestly not that much different than something like Wicca or the Golden Dawn. So yeah.
So first I wanted to ask you, you mentioned the word sabbatical, I think. Not sabbatical, but close to that word. What was that?
Oh, Sabbatic Witchcraft.
Yeah.
It's a revival of traditional witchcraft that was a big thing. Well, it's Andrew Chumbly's tradition. Because they don't have sex.
They don't have what?
Goat. I'm just responding to chat. They don't have sex orgies in goat blood. No one's invited me to one yet. I've been a Thelemite for like 5 years, and I still haven't gotten that invitation.
That word reminds me of Sabbatai Zevi, who I wonder if he's going to be brought up later on. But is he the origin of this, or completely unrelated?
No, completely unrelated concepts. I was actually reading some Frankism stuff last night just out of morbid curiosity, and I feel like if this is the kind of very unorthodox stuff that people portray Thelema as, but Frankism is actually like how people misconceive Thelema, I feel like.
Yeah, well, we're definitely gonna have to get one of those Frankists on the show, because that's probably where the real darkness is. Like, I don't know how deep that goes. Eventually, I think in this conversation we're gonna bring it back, because I want to go very like as dark as possible into the furthest reaches, just to see what we can grasp that actually is established by whatever orders, instead of it just being hearsay by concerned mothers of America and stuff like that. So anyway, there's
so many dark witchcraft things, but I don't think you won't necessarily find it in maybe the practices, right? like what was something I heard recently? You said the TFW no GF thing, and I know the producer of that.
Oh man.
Contain Pod, Barrett. He's a great guy. He's cool. Him and Alex made that, but I know he told me like this story of what was it? The Kali Excel people. Have you heard of them?
Have you heard of them?
Have you heard
Oh
of them?
boy.
We've had most of them on the show.
Oh, have you? See, I just got an invite, so I don't know. Like, okay,
Yes,
so you
this
probably know
this is all new to
that
you.
more.
But yes, we have been around the block plenty of times when it comes
You have
to.
been around the block. See, I don't know like how deep down the rabbit hole you. So apparently, I'm like here, and you guys are here, and I'm like asking if you're here. So okay.
No, I think we're all acquainted with the same stuff.
I'm like Jerry Seinfeld. I'm like the random Jewish guy. Have you heard of this? Have you heard of these Kali Excel people? Crazy stuff.
Well, this is exactly why you were brought on the stream. I mean, from what I see, Kaliak is kind of no more. People have split off, but the energy I think that Kaliak was getting at, I think it's resonant in a lot of people right now, and I think it's also something that we're going to get into. But first, let's just start very... myself. Okay, myself. I'm going to send you a link later. Okay, so let's just start very briefly to say, for those who don't know, what exactly is this occult stuff? For those who completely dismiss it, like what would be the easiest way to say it? So,
in other words, what's the basis of Thelema according to people like? I actually have a Jack Parsons essay here in this book, Rebels and Devils, but maybe in your own words, what is the basis of Thelema? How is it different from other occult mystery schools, I guess? Or is it just LARPing? I mean, maybe that's the conclusion. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it's not. I don't think it's LARPing. Like to look at any kind of like fictional school, you could say, even if it's like you're creating things or you're just doing a practice, because the obsession with kind of doing something that's realistic. Like you can do philosophy and you can try to chart like an ontology of the world or epistemology or something like that. But when you go into the realm of like the mystic or the narrative, you kind of go beyond. You know, you said, break the rules, but like, what about the laws or the rules of physics, right? So, and people don't think of it that way. It's like, oh, you break the rules. It's like the rules created by some like bureaucrat.
But are the rules
boring, and they didn't think.
But are the laws of physics? You say it's breaking them. I don't think whatever is going to break any laws, because whatever laws are there, they're going to work a certain way, and we only think that they work up to a certain degree. Or certain things aren't possible.
But I would say you can think out.
You
can think outside those laws.
Exactly.
Though. Like I think that's what like the mystic is about a little bit. And when you do that, you get. Well,
Georgina, do you agree?
I think that I don't really necessarily think you're breaking the laws of physics. I mean, a lot of it is just kind of like communing with the divine or kind of following the idea of as above, so below. Thelema is basically like it's just a continuation of the Western mystery tradition. It's an evolution from the Golden Dawn's take of Kabbalah, kind of combined with some more like Kemetic paganism, but really it's just an evolution of that forward. So it's Thelema doesn't really come out of nowhere. To really get it, there's just that predecessor and that whole Western tradition that built into it, and then you throw on kind of Crowley's personal philosophies and views on things like true will and following this idea of like your personal drive and purpose in life as like an individual thing. So it's not like Thelema really comes out of nowhere. It really is just a continuation of what came ahead of it.
And when you say communing with the divine, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, like, when we talk about that type of stuff, like just what you would see in mysticism, things like invocation, evocation, ritual work, prayer, all that type of stuff. A lot of the kind of mystical side of Thelema is very similar to the Golden Dawn rituals. If people here are familiar with those, they're very, very similar. There's this focus on kind of things like the Holy Guardian Angel. You see things like Goetia coming in. Really, it's just kind of a lot of the kind of standard Western esotericism ritual traditions. There's a lot of kind of Kabbalistic influence in it. Kabbalah is used quite heavily and all that type of stuff.
and to break down the Kabbalah, which, I mean, nobody could really do it in the span of time. Even our streams, for as long as they go on, I think it's impossible to break the whole thing down fully. But suffice it to say, Kabbalah has this tree of life where there are different stages of, like the Sephiroth, I guess you could call them stages of consciousness, awareness that people would be able to get into. And eventually on top of is Kater, the crown. People say that that's also like the crown chakra. You know, we talked about this last time. Like, people try to put things neatly into a system, but there has to be some system that is objective, as opposed to every individual would just have their own individual system. Just like the sun is outside, there should be a subjective nature to this experience that people then add in all these different numerals to and put in all these different stages. So if we were to break it down to the bare essentials, what will we break it down as, this Kabbalistic tree of life?
Oh, the Kabbalistic tree of life. Really, really quickly. I'm trying to think of the quickest way to explain that.
Yeah.
Kabbalah.
You have all the numbers,
Kabbalah,
right?
it's a diagram trying to conceptualize the way that God emanates into the world. It's a metaphor basically for how that. So you can kind of conceptualize the abstract concept of how God flows through the world, and kind of people align it with spiritual development. Very ambitiously, Crowley created a book called Liber 777, where he tried to smash like every system together and make correspondences for everything. I think 777 is probably the biggest attempt to syncretize as much as possible into a nice chart that you can look at.
Well, they're just listing all these categories, right? So
Yeah.
there's the man, woman, start, and then it goes to these various universal categories. So there's definitely lots of room for someone like Crowley to just throw in a whole bunch of other stuff into like Kabbalah.
Yeah, like he even in his tarot deck, which he changed it from the Rider-Waite, which was kind of the deck that Waite did. He added in the I Ching correspondences into his deck, which weren't previously in there. Previously, it was just like astrology, numerology, and Kabbalah, and then he just syncretized it with the I Ching.
See, I got both of the decks over here. So here's the Tot deck, and from what I understand, this deck is being sued right now by the people who hold, her, the lady who painted these cards, who hold her copyright. But anyway, I don't know where I stand on combining all these different systems together. I think that there may be something to it. But what about yourself, Modern Hermeticist? Are you for this Liber 77 combining of all these different things into one? Does it make sense, or do you think people mix things up and just wind up not really concentrating on one particular system that can, be more digestible to them?
Well, it's complicated, right? Because what you have is this whole tradition of ritual magic. And not only is there one tradition of ritual magic, but there are many traditions of ritual magic that stem from different cultures. Astral magic is not the same as Goetic magic, is not the same as folk magic, is not the same as Kabbalah, it's not the same as, Dionysian mysticism. So each of these things are different in some way. And what people were trying to do in the 19th and early 20th century was really try to fix systems in order to make them practical. And so they were interested in the traditions as such, in receiving traditions as they came down to them in grimoires, but they also were interested in tweaking things in order to make them more effective for their rituals. And so in something like Liber 777, you have Crowley's attempt at reconciling a great deal of systems in the same way that someone like Al-Qurtubi, who wrote the Picatrix, did in the 900s. So it's part of the tradition to try to synthesize a bunch of sources into a coherent system. So in a way, that is totally in keeping with the tradition. But that if you are a ceremonial magician, it's not necessarily the case that you are going to hop on and use his system of correspondences. There are different attitudes, right? There are some people who are who think that the later stuff is more correct, has been more edited, has been more pondered and chewed on. And then there's other people who have more of like a humanistic impulse, and that is to like return to the sources, and that the sources are more pure. And so you get these tensions in ceremonial magic, in Western esotericism, and I think that that's one of these things. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on whether you should or shouldn't use these things. I'm personally more interested in the older stuff, but that's not to say that like people can't use the new stuff. It's just not. I'm a historian, so that's my interest is in the older stuff.
And as far as using a lot of these different things, you have on one hand these Indian yogis that do breathing techniques. I like doing breathing techniques. I think there's a lot of interesting things to discover there. And, you know, somebody goes into a cave or whatever, and they experience samadhi, and they become one with the universe. Then you have these Jewish mystical rabbis that just read the Torah and study Kabbalah all day. They don't do any breathing techniques whatsoever. Their bodies are probably really... They do? Really? Okay, well...
Oh, yes, they do. Yeah, they do.
Tell me a little bit about that, because from what I saw of their bodies, because I went to the Russian-Turkish baths a lot of times, and I saw all these Hasidic Jews, you know, in a state of undress. Not the healthiest folks, you know, like they're not really...
Well, you don't need to be too healthy to breathe, do you?
Well, you do need you do need a good diaphragm. You do need, like, I don't know, I'd assume a lot of this weight from the latkes or whatever is going to hold you back, but I don't know.
What about things like holotropic breathing and things like that? I don't think you'd have to be particularly healthy to alter your consciousness through...
I'd be concerned about that just because of the blood pressure.
Finding
Because
a bad yogis.
The mystic community is not necessarily the fitness community.
well, you'd be surprised.
could
for some
be.
people,
but,
yeah.
But it could
the
be.
the fitness mystic community, that exists.
That
It
does
does.
exist, yeah.
Actually, I'm not surprised.
The esoteric bodybuilders. In fact, we should probably bring
bodybuilderism.
bring
them
some
back.
of them in, yeah. But I-
meditation
Yeah.
during lifting
Yeah.
is amazing. Like just
But
I
feeling
think
your
There was
Another,
a guy who contacted me, speaking of mystic Jewish people, and he was a Jewish guy, and he was actually one of the two people that started the Donald subreddit. And not only did he start the Donald subreddit,
oh no.
but he also started the red pill one. And I'm not like of that persuasion.
Wait. Andrew
any
Meyer?
way. No, the other one, Glow. You know Glow?
No, I don't
Just
know.
look him up.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to say it.
You mean he goes in the dark?
No,
okay.
no. The idea is that his name is. I'm on a break. I'm on my lunch break here. His name is Gay Lube Oil, and the joke is that that's the only way you can get testosterone into Western countries is by calling it that. Yeah. So that guy. But he's very much into this idea of what is it, the Jewish cabal sticking together. And I think there's something with like right wing, which I'm like, Zero Books is a leftist print, and I'm like a leftist type, but he's into this right wing idea of all that goes with that, and especially with Israel and the ethno kind of stuff. And then there's bodybuilding, and then there's mystic kind of this would be more under like Rosicrucian or more philosophical kind of schools, right? So that definitely goes together.
Well, Kantbot was saying Rosicrucians are a LARP.
Well, they are now, but were they a LARP then? They were probably always a LARP. But so was like the Freemasons, but nonetheless, the people that they happen to be part of the club that founded. I don't know, they probably don't do anything now, but at the time of creating the U.S., they were, you're a member of this like social club or whatever. So you never know the power of the LARP. It's not like, as Zizek would say, this is where I get to be the Lacanian Hegelian. As Zizek would say, it's not about that reality is a simulation. It's that the simulations have reality. right? And that's part of the
yeah.
mystic idea, right?
Because
So
we're all
like once
trying
you
to get at
forget,
the
once you
real and
that
different.
switch, right?
I mean, if you
Yeah.
want to full chaos, you can go kind of the direction that even if there's absolutely nothing mystical that's real, just by convincing yourself of this and doing these rituals, it still will make an impact on your life, thus still rendering them valuable. Because if you believe something strongly enough, even if it's not actually real, it'll still subconsciously manipulate you and change your behavior patterns.
Well,
That's
kind of a whole.
that's a in like a being
very,
like
very
when
modern.
yeah, well, like when you do like the Oniranaut stuff too, it's like it with a lot of that stuff in dreams and stuff like that. The idea often is if you can't tell the difference between it being real or not real, what difference does it make? Like if it's and same thing with psychedelics, whereas it's like people go, oh well, it's just a trick of your brain or whatever, and it's well, who cares? Like if it's a trick of your brain and it makes a difference, then what's the difference?
Well, it becomes hyperstitional. I guess that's the hot new accelerationist term. But
What does that mean? What does that mean, hyperstitional?
A hyperstition. Did it come from Nick Lander? Was it just
No,
the
that's
CCR?
from the CCR. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like what I'm talking about is in the reality of the virtual, the Zizek idea and hyperstition, are very similar in terms of like if you make something or you do a ritual and you get a group of people together, you don't necessarily know what you're doing. But like Nick Land would say, you actually are conjuring like timeless demons. Like, so he's very much not like the practical magic. It's like, no, there are extra dimensional demons that you're conjuring that you don't know what you're messing with.
And that is the real from which you derive. Yeah. But this is why I think it's good that Elliot Rosenstock is on, because I wanted to say something about Thelema and Crowley. To me, I'm seeing a lot of connections. My understanding is that my trad-based reactionary, whatever you want to call it, thesis is that Crowley influenced so many aspects of modernity itself, or what we know as techno-capital modernity, specifically psychoanalysis and the sort of the trajectory from the New Age movement onto like this like corporatized, bastardized, I don't know what we call it, mindfulness, wellness, bullshit, self-help. So we here in the text, this is by what's his name?
Giorgio Agamben?
No, this is Richard Kaczynski, PhD. No relation to Ted Kaczynski. He's saying about Crowley. He's saying he began to talk to me about initiation, said it was a matter of getting to the subconscious mind at work. So he visited Crowley's temple in Italy that is, I think, under dispute as well. The subconscious mind at work, and when the subconscious mind was allowed to have full sway without interference with the physical mind, illumination begins when he said this subconscious mind was our holy guardian. So Crowley, when Crowley disagreed with psychoanalysis, this ideological theory of evil and all of trouble paraphrases Freud's idea, and then it talks about how to Crowley, morality was a way of like blocking the unconscious spiritual development. So the more Crowley subverted, the more spiritual he got. So I think to me, there seems to be a similarity with the way that these European mystery schools developed and the way that psychoanalysis then later took on from Freud and Jung and then Lacan and onwards. There seems to be that sort of like secularization of magic initiation ritual into the psychoanalytic model. I don't know if that's controversial to say. Maybe Elliot, you can comment on that.
Just real quick, Jung, I was recently looking at his red book. I still don't know if it's written in English or German. The text is really small, but anyway.
Well, he had different, it was mostly written in Old German, and then he had Arabic and Hebrewic words and stuff like that. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't want that text to come out. For
it was
a
his
long
family
time.
that came out.
And from what I understand, that text talks about his initiation, like into whatever mystery school he initiated himself into. He built a castle, like a mind castle, which is kind of like a yantra type thing. And this is a place where he conducted a lot of his analysis. But to the public, he presented a lot of things in more of this very sober, psycho-analytical perspective, and he kept a lot of the mystical stuff in that framework for the normies, basically. And
then later I'll get into how Crowley basically was basically like the pinnacle of modern beliefs around morality and self-worth. But anyways, Elliot, you're brimming at the seams to jump.
Well,
You are
you
practicing.
can get on the yeah, I'm in a clinic at the moment.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
On my lunch, not doing this on the clock. I'm on my lunch, for the record. It's on the record. Okay. No, but another person you could get on is Chris Gabriel of Meme Analysis. I don't know if you ever seen that channel.
Oh yeah,
he's been on the show.
He's been on the show. Okay. So
what's your take? Do you
him.
see this connection
he
between
that as well? So a lot of, I think there's similarities, but they're not necessarily. But depending on there's like definitely a hard line school between like Jungian's synchronicity, interest in the occult, and like Lacanians who are like ontologically trying to map the world, are trying to understand discourse and mastery and power. And I'm definitely I'm on the other, I'm not on the kind of Jung side of things really, because like what I'm doing is like I'm trying to ontologically map the world and see how force appears in the world and how power appears in the world, how freedom appears in the world, and how our sort of will gets channeled into these things which don't seem like will but are nonetheless pulled by will, like our ideals, like our causes that we follow or whatever.
Our
lately
false consciousness and
yeah, but lately what I'm really interested in regarding like power and will, and I think when you're a leftoid like myself, that the idea of like what do you make of a system where everybody is completely acting in their kind of vicious self-interest, if you take into account that people are kind of vicious, spiteful, terrible creatures, and you're trying to make, and you are one of them yourself, and you're trying to make this a large-scale society. How do you do that? And what I'm going through now is the Machiavellians. I don't know if you heard of that.
That's a good book. Moldbug recommended that book as well.
Yeah. That's why I'm going through it.
It's also very expensive, hard to get.
It's
No,
PDF. I got it.
Yeah,
Or you got a PDF?
Yeah.
I got a
it's
hard
called
copy.
libgen. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But so the idea of like how force in the world exists, but it's not just people. So like I'm going through the Machiavellians, but it's not just people. But when you make something like an occult institution or any sort of ritual, and where psychoanalysis I think is really important is if you read Totem and Taboo, and you read the rules of totem societies, which are pre-Greek, pre-Roman tribal societies, and how they work, as above, so below, you can kind of extrapolate a lot from them, which is at the top of these kind of totem societies, like it's not like the apex person or like the greatest person. At the top, you get like an empty symbol, but the empty symbol has to be something that's appealing, and it's like an animal or a plant or something that symbolizes that people just kind of generally like. So at the top, you don't get a person, but there is like a top, and you get this kind of, and then people kind of form around it. And once you have these might be occult in nature, you begin to create the kind of force that puts power in the world in whatever sort of form you want.
Oh wait, Georgina, you want to say something?
Yeah, I think, are you conflating Thalemic true will with doing whatever you want whenever you want? Because they're not the same thing. True will is a very specific thing, and when Crowley says will, he's referring to true will, not doing whatever you want whenever you want. They're quite different concepts. It's easily misinterpreted. Do what thou wilt should be the whole law is a wildly misinterpreted statement. True will.
To me, what do what thou wilt meant when I read it, and this might be my ignorance here, is do what thou wilt.
so that's wrong then, according to Georgina, right?
Well, I can't believe in my wildest dreams that I'm wrong here, but I'm totally willing to
prove him wrong.
Prove me wrong, because I don't think you will be able to, Georgina, but go ahead.
I just think that, have you read about Crowley's views on true will, or have you just read the statement?
What is true will? Like, what is your definition of?
Well, this sounds very similar to what Randians always talk about, where they say self-interest and invested self-interest are very different things.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
This is why. Well, Crowley is an esoteric libertarian. That's my.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. You can actually make some interesting parallels between Rand and Crowley, but I don't really want to get into all of that.
Oh, of course. But, Georgina, what is true will? I'm sorry, we're jokes here.
So do as thou wilt. I'm willing to learn how do
as thou wilt is whatever my PP feels good, then I'll do.
Doesn't mean do as thou wilt.
Whatever my feels
that
good.
seems like some dialectic gymnastics.
Thalema is not pro-conventional.
I'm here to stir shit. Okay, now I'll stop. Go ahead.
Basically, true will is this idea that everyone sort of has a personal. It's like your driving passion. Your higher. So your true will is what you follow, and if you follow that, you'll be kind of fulfilled as a person. So let's say like you have like a very important thing in your life, like you really want to like make art, like that would be part of your true will, but doing something in the moment that would pull you away from that eventual goal would be against your true will, even if it's something you want in the moment. True will is like following your like personal like destiny and what you think is right for yourself. It's not like if you had like, let's say you want to do art and there was an opportunity to like sell away your copyright, and that would make you feel better in the moment, but it would take away from that long-term true will goal.
Sure. So Georgina, I see what you're saying. This is where I would argue against it, which is there's an existential choice to toss away these, whatever you consider your like long-term goal. You're faced with that existential choice constantly.
Yeah.
And you can, and I've heard this, Peterson makes the argument, that, you don't want to do whatever you do because in your long-term, it's not in your interest, but nonetheless,
it's your long-term goal, it's not in your interest.
I could throw it out. There's some goals and there's some long-term vested interests that I do have. I would say like people in my life that I want long-term and I respect them. That's one thing. Anything else is like it's pretty up in the air for me. And I think don't toss away your existential decision to throw away your life, kids.
What about two? Now I think didn't Crowley himself later on in life settle down quite a bit and realize that what he actually valued was family, and end up not being as involved in a lot of the stuff that he was involved in when he was younger, which from my very limited understanding of Crowley, a lot of what he was doing when he was in his 20s and early 30s was a rebellion against his parents, who were extremely strict Puritan type religious people. He went and did basically the exact opposite, started all of these kind of like hedonistic sort of cultic kind of things where people were, having orgies and doing drugs and all that sort of stuff. But then later on he had a kid and moved back to Britain and was kind of like, oh, well, actually, maybe this is actually what I value.
Yeah, but then he died in a shack from a drug overdose, so it didn't really.
Well, I mean, heroin's hard to kick.
But that's the thing, there's always the existential choice to go a radically different direction.
But I think that's
don't view Crowley as like the ideal human being. Most Thalemites that I've known are.
I don't know that, dude.
There's some that are like Crowley worshippers and want to like emulate Crowley's life, but that's kind of looked down upon in the Thalemic community. Just trying to imitate his like hedonism and whatever is kind of like something that some people do. Like they're like, oh, Crowley's an interesting person, but at that point it just becomes trying to emulate someone else's life rather than following your own true will. And that's counter to what Thalemites believe. There's a little like term that people mock of Crowleyanity, which is people who just want like see Crowley as like Jesus rather than like seeing him as someone who had good ideas and good mystical practices, but was still a flawed human. He had issues, and I actually kind of find that that's almost an endearing thing, that like you're following the ideas of someone who struggled and who wasn't like a Jesus type, right? Like he had flaws, and as Thelema evolved, more people had different ideas, and it's very much a living religion. It's not just follow what Crowley did. Crowley's like the beginning of a whole current, not the be all end all.
I have a question as regarding Crowley to maybe sort of further sketch out his character. And so we're talking here about the difference between sort of Crowleyism versus Thelema. Georgina, you alluded to earlier that he kind of was sort of trolly and kind of liked to lean into the controversy. What, in your opinion, and then if anyone in the panel's opinion, is the difference between the writings of Aleister Crowley, like the Book of the Law, Liber 4, etc., and the sort of public facing persona? Like how much of the sort of troll is influencing the work? Essentially, how much of a true believer in Thelema do you think Crowley was versus how much was he courting simply that notoriety?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a gap between what he wrote about and how he was portrayed, because you've got to remember when you read these articles about him or how the public kind of viewed him is that he was living in Victorian England. It was very conservative, and he was very shocking to that culture by the nature of who he was and by the stuff he was saying. His ideas, I feel like if he would have come on later, he would have gotten way less like kind of hysteria. He would have just been seen as like this kind of mystic kind of counterculture person. I think he just was a little early. What was I gonna say? Yeah, that discrepancy is strong. He definitely has a sense of humor in his writing, and I think a lot of the trolling is like this kind of humor that he has going on. It's pretty easy to figure out what's the media trolling and what's his actual beliefs once you start reading it. As he aged, he got a lot more kind of theistic in what he thought, and like he believed a lot less this kind of psychological paradigm type stuff as he got into his 60s and whatnot. So his views changed as he aged, but it's pretty clear, in my opinion, once you start reading his writing, what's his writing and what's kind of that media toying.
There is also a comment from Aryan Cowboy. I was talking about this with him yesterday. He said that Crowley brought a wealth of knowledge to the West, but the West wasn't prepared for him, so it became a curio. That's not a word I find often.
Curio.
And it entered the West properly through Carl Jung, who was very much the successful initiate and followed all the good safety precautions, like working alone and in silence.
100% agree.
Yes.
About Crowley's trolliness, there's this semi-famous anecdote about a tourist coming into the town where he was living, checking into a hotel, and Crowley walks in dancing naked. And when the tourists ask about what's all this about, and the host says, "Oh, that's just old Mr. Crowley being invisible again."
Well, speaking of that, we have a comment from Loven Gjert. I don't know how to pronounce it. This may be one of your friends. He is saying he was the architect, meaning Crowley. Crowley was the architect of this whole degenerate age. So, Georgina, how would you respond to that?
Well, it's true. Every social movement comes from is an after echo of a previous occultic movement.
I mean,
that was
you can make a bit of an argument for that, actually. I wouldn't use the term degenerate age, but if you want to use the term degenerate age,
but let's define what degenerate means. Like, what does degenerate mean to you,
Degenerate is
Georgina?
what I don't like. Oh, sorry.
I feel like
Are you
something,
bro?
As thing I don't like. Hedonistic thing I don't like is kind of what people use degeneracy for.
But it's the opposite of generating something,
the
right?
opposite of a generative, like what is flourishing.
When we call people degenerates, we're talking about like a specific thing. Like when you say you're a degenerate.
So you know it when you see it. Yeah.
It's like a visceral disgust cringe reaction.
Well, like, okay, for example, somebody like a heavy drug user, like a meth user or whatever, they would be called a degenerate because, let's say, they do spend most of their time not really generating anything creative into the world, but just, just being within their own little drugged-up cocoon and, getting a lot of these chemical dopamine hits. So it is, in a way, an Ouroboros,
There's
like a
a good
snake eating
question
its own
here.
tail.
But a lot of creative people are degenerates as well. I mean,
True.
being a creative
But they're
person.
generating, but creative is generating, right? I feel like the Murphy question, if we're gonna be degenerates and ask the Murphy question.
So
is what's the formal definition of a degenerate? Which you could say is there's something that you have, which is of value, that you're actively taking away from. So if you're like a hedonistic quote unquote degenerate, hypothetically, you're taking away from whatever you would get by not being a hedonistic.
You're disregarding the order of the
Right.
Father. And
by
Maybe
the way,
if you're
Georgina,
ignoring your
by
true
the way,
will.
did you go to
Well,
Bard or no? Or is that
I did not go to Bard for college. I hate to break that to you guys. I actually did not go to a small liberal arts college.
Oh, you didn't go to Vassar or something. that's a passe 90s thing. That's good. But anyways, Modern Hermeticist, you wanted to talk about perfect nature or perfect will. What is
Yes, so I wanted to
I'm not going to Fed Post this episode. You have to wait for Thursday with Eli Schiff.
Oh man, that's gonna be fun. Eli Schiff. I can't
Then
wait.
I will Fed Post in that episode.
And by the way, subscribe. Everybody subscribe right now. Subscribe fucking now.
Subscribe.
Click the bell. Yes.
If you subscribe, you're not a degenerate.
Exactly.
That's right. I was going to say only degenerates don't subscribe.
Is this all of your guys' podcasts? Is that what's happening here? I have sorry, anyway, go on. Because you guys, just for the record, you guys invited me about like a few hours before, and I was like, that sounds all right. so I'm new, but I like
enjoying your experience.
It's a fun time, and also you guys are down the Cali Excel rabbit hole, so you're good by me.
Thank you. So Modern Hermeticist.
What is true? Not true will. What is perfect spirit or perfect will?
Right. So I kind of want to tie all of these concepts together that we've been talking about. So we've been talking about the subconscious. So that's one aspect of this that gets into the Jungian psychology element of it. And then we have the true will, which is the thalemic element of it. But these currents tie into Platonic and Aristotelian and then Hermetic ideas that were current throughout late antiquity and the Middle Ages about the idea that, man was produced in an image. And so there is a perfect form of man, and man can grow into that perfect form. And so it's funny, we can even tie degeneracy into this, because the idea is you are trying to generate yourself into
the ideal man,
perfect form. And you do that by learning all of the 7 liberal arts and by essentially bootstrapping your soul into a recognition of itself. And this is where you get into these ideas about the holy guardian angel in the ceremonial magic stream of it.
The Adam Kadmon.
The Adam Kadmon in Kabbalah, or the Tselem, which is like the image that God makes man in. That's the astral body in astral magic, like in the Picatrix. And so you have all of these different traditions about human perfection, about human potential and the actualization of that potential. And these stem from Platonic and Aristotelian currents. And true will is very much a modern expression using modern Orientalist language, and using, magical gematria. So the idea is like, you have 93, which is thelema, which is will, but then that in the gematria also equals agape, which is love. So therefore, will is love. The true will is whatever is an act of love, but then the idea is that love is under will, so you're not supposed to destroy yourself. So this is the anti-Christian element of it. It is Christian to destroy yourself to elevate others. It is not thalemic to do so.
Yeah, that's what Parsons says in his essay about, like, eternal love is that which is thou, a propping up of oneself, because now instead of the Platonic ideal of God, you are God within yourself. It becomes individuated in the self, like you are God sort of deal. So I could see where like that graded with like Christian Victorian society here.
Yeah, and so Crowley grew up, he was in the Plymouth Brethren, and so he's very much an expression of what happens when somebody is very repressed and then all of a sudden given no boundaries at all. So that very much illustrates his story. And so in a way, he's a kind of like microcosm for modernity, because he is this person who was very repressed in his early age. His father was a minister, and then all of a sudden in his adolescence, he starts getting into prostitution and drugs and different magical practices and ways of altering consciousness. And these are things that caught on, or they were currents that were in vogue at the time.
Acting out, basically.
Yeah. Well,
he'd be listening to Marilyn Manson back in the early 2000s.
You can't tell me what to do, Dad. Yeah.
Writing love poetry for CD.
But that's like so many, even furries. I'd say there was an animation I recently saw called the Furry Disease. I highly recommend everybody look it up.
That furry stream, I still have memory. I still have haunted nightmares.
I do not claim the furries. They are not in my true will.
You know what's messed up is I was like drawing. I was bored the other day, and I was like drawing a cat, and I was like, wouldn't it be funny if it like just had like an outfit? And then
that's how it starts.
Degeneracy.
You must stop.
Like, son of a bitch.
I think.
No, I only drew one.
But I think that's
so far. Only one so far.
But that's the gateway. First, you watch that character from Sonic, his love interest,
Sally Acorn.
Yeah, Sally Acorn, and then you become a furry. You start
Lola Bunny. Lola Bunny was a big one for a lot of millennials.
Lola Bunny, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Jessica Rabbit for Gen X.
No. Jessica Rabbit doesn't count because she's a woman. Jessica Rabbit is a cartoon woman. There is nothing furry about her. She is like.
Oh, I thought she was a.
No,
actually,
she is.
No. You know what did it for millennials? Space Jam. That's
Lola Bunny. That's Lola Bunny.
Lola Bunny. Yeah. Space Jam. Space Jam ruined a whole generation of furries.
Exactly.
So, but what I wanted to say was, it's interesting.
The Genesee is both Space Jam and Aleister Crowley combined.
Astral magic.
We need to swear.
Now
I'm just imagining Aleister Crowley and Michael Jordan playing with the Looney Tunes.
This is what Break the Rules does. We always try to combine everything. It's oh my god. How do you recover? But it's true.
Theory of everything.
Theory of exactly. I think but modern medicine. You bring up a good point about perfect will, the perfected self. I think that's in a way different from the original sort of project of psychoanalysis. Is not to. I mean, I don't know, Elliot. Maybe things are different nowadays, but. It's, certainly with Freud, it's not to like flourish the will the way that Crowley views it. It's more of an integration of the self within certain, social pressures. But
things are different because the world is different. Like the world is so divided. Like the avenues that people are taking in psychology are just, it's very split. Like you got you got the Peterson sphere, you got, the people that, people who I talk to and I like to talk to, a lot of them are like egoist anarchist types who are also into theory. And that's like its own kind of thing, although they don't have a sort of Peterson kind of person who's like mainstream, but that exists. And then of course you have different schools of like actual psychology, which are, like you said, the corporate mindfulness kind of hydra, which seems to grow because it fits so well with non-psychology subjects, and mindfulness
and that's
kind of can be sprinkled on everything.
But that's the thing. It seems that we're living in the Crowley epoch as we speak, in that even psychoanalysis has fundamentally transformed into a generative of desire, whether that was the influence of Lacan and then later, Deleuze and Guattari, certainly Guattari, but like, Hermes, check
it out. So I think this is appropriate if you'll allow. This is from the introduction of the Book of the Law. This is Crowley discussing the age of Horus, of which we are now in. So I'm just going to read a very brief paragraph, page 12, if you have your book. So of the age of Horus, he says, he rules the present period of 2,000 years beginning in 1904. Everywhere his government is taking root. Observe for yourselves the decay of the sense of sin, the growth of innocence and irresponsibility, the strange modifications of the reproductive instinct with a tendency to become bisexual or epicene, the childlike confidence in progress combined with nightmare fear of catastrophe against we are yet half unwilling to take precautions. So when I read that for the first time, I was just utterly struck by the prescience of it. So
are you sure Julius Evola didn't write that? Not Aleister Crowley? That's, holy crap. That's
so I mean, if there's
else.
a more accurate encapsulation of what we're talking about, then I don't know it.
Yeah, I mean, Crowley had this whole theory about these aeons, or these kind of larger periods that align with how kind of the major religions have shifted, of how culture changed. And Aeon of Horus would be the current one, and the one that he was trying to bring on.
But does Crowley celebrate this sort of polymorphous perversity, I guess would be the term, or does he sort of?
Well, yes, in a word.
So he wouldn't say, like, for example, you have the same sort of cyclical view of history. Okay, so let's say Oswald Spengler, like, he wouldn't say that this is just an inevitable byproduct of Faustian man and it's just a period of decline that we have to go through no matter what. It's more of like he is affirming this fluidity of the self within desire.
Can I chime in on this?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, so the kind of aeonic view of time stems from a different tradition than from the cyclical view, the Spenglerian view, that's rooted in Hesiod and in the Greek poets, and in the idea of the like cycle of ages, and there are metal age, golden age, silver age, and so on and so forth. But there's another mode of time that emerged in the Middle Ages, and it's this apocalyptic mode of time rooted in Joachim of Fior's ideas about the three statuses. So the status of the Father, which is this like age of law, and then the status of the Son, which is this age of, the Messiah comes. And then the idea is there's a status of the Holy Spirit. And with the status of the Holy Spirit, there were radical Franciscan groups who took these ideas and thought that third age would abrogate the first two testaments, and we would roll over into this antinomian age where there would be no more law. There would just be love. And so there were movements like the Fraticelli, the Brethren of the Free Spirit. So this is all Italian history, right? And eventually these groups were suppressed, and often because they coincided with apostolic poverty movements. So the idea is that you had to renounce all your property as well, and then you live in expectation of the end times in absolute, free of everything.
And this was the roots of a lot of like Marxist socialism. I know some writers, they claim that. Like
Hegel, he talks about how like the essence of spirit is freedom, and so the
creative
movement
reason
towards spirit is a movement towards
reason.
Well, we could also combine this with the Mazdakites of Iran, which Trajani was talking about, which was this like proto-Marxist movement back in the day, which got stomped by the Sasanian Empire after they got control of Iran. But
it's
also
all apocalypticism, right?
And also like Mithraism as well.
Iranian apocalypticism is at the roots of Judeo-Christian apocalypticism. So this all is one kind of long story.
So then through this period of...
to wrap this up, with Crowley, what he does is he has this idea that we're going to get this new eon, this new age of the Holy Spirit, and that it will be this antinomian age. But of course, for him, it's not this age of the Holy Spirit. It's this age of Thelema, of
it's the age of Babylon, right?
Yes, exactly. And so it's this kind of perverse inversion of the Joachite system in a way. And I don't know how conscious he was of that, because there wasn't that much Joachite literature around, but he was definitely conscious of all of the stuff that came before, like Hegel and Marx and these kind of guys.
And antinomianism is considered a heresy apostolic Christianity, if I recall, like in
Right, but
Catholicism.
like Christianity is an antinomian movement in and of itself, because Christ comes and there are certain laws that he abridges or amends, or he shows you like this is the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law.
So no more circumcision, no more of these traditions that
the New Testament was the fulfillment of certain. Yeah.
Says who?
Well, I mean, but that's, I think, but then what happens? Yeah. But then what happens after this antinomian age of, what would you say, freeing of desire, polymorphous perversity, what would you say, free love, I guess it would be a term, like, then rapture happens, right, if I recall.
Well, then rapture though is more of a English and American thing, and
it's a newer thing.
Yeah, but I mean, in the tradition that I come out of with the Quakers, is there was a lot of factional, like, groups that kind of split off that did sort of have what you're talking about a little bit, this sort of integration of socialist and Marxist ideas, but in this no property, but no property in sort of a, well, I mean, what I would say is a degenerate way, where like people aren't married, they sleep with whoever they want, they tend to be lazier and more.
It's communist. It's just not Marxist.
Right.
It's proto. Yeah. What Marx would call primitive communism, I guess.
Yeah, and even some of the groups that preceded the Quakers, like the Anabaptists and then later Mennonites and the Amish and things like that, sort of similar stuff, where they had, some of the groups were very strict, but then you had these weird offshoots that were just very, I mean, to use the same word, just what we would, I guess, classify as degenerate in like in modern. I like that Lev's cracking up at these these pictures.
And notice how in, like, for example, I'm doing this article for the American Sun, but notice I was doing some research about these trends in pornography, and notice how the subversive power of like the Amish and the Mormons, and like they have this like whole subsect of like perverting like the Amish girl that is hot, and it's crazy. The people posting this in the chat, my God, like, please just fuck ruining my train. This is supposed to be a serious discussion and just gets fucking ruined by inflation, furry. I can't believe this.
Y'all are calling Thalema degenerate?
I got I seriously, like, the Thalemites look like NRX compared to like the furries. I have to say that it's crazy, but no, it's funny. Yeah, it's really interesting the way that we're coming full circle into Crowleyism creating the conditions of modernity itself. That's, I think it's interesting. In Modern Hermeticist, you're giving us Lev, stop posting that. Stop. Anyways, by the way, shout out to Elliot Rosen. Please come on again. I don't know if he wants to come on to this chat. I can't believe this. My day is ruined. My disappointment's immense, and my day is ruined.
They posted the fat bunny. Oh, they want me to post the sneed edit. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna post the sneed
edit. Learning about degeneracy.
This is the sneed.
No! Don't full screen it. Oh no! Oh my God.
Okay.
Oh.
What is going on?
Just let's pretend this didn't happen. It's my first day back after a horrible few weeks.
But then see, but Geo can now this sort of proves your point a little bit, is that this Crowleyism is infective.
Exactly, and it creates its own. It creates its own forms of degeneracy. That's so. Oh my God!
I think the furries beat us. I think this was a battle between the furries and the Crowleyites, who, when they heard Georgina, say that you are not part of the furry fandom, they got very disappointed in you, and they struck back and they showed us.
By the way, you have
boss.
a lot of fans in the chat, Georgina. They all want to marry you. It's
I
can save her. She's not. I can a million. I can save hers in the chat. It's just,
if you guys need a wife, DM me after this. I'm taking applications.
Oh,
That's a very logical way of looking at it. That's how my wife and I met. Is we were both like, well, we're both looking. So fill out this application.
Well, I actually do have a Patreon.
an OnlyFans.
What's your Patreon? I'm gonna link to it right now.
It's just like Thalema content. I'm not on OnlyFans, but I'll link my Patreon if you guys want to support me.
Oh yeah.
Because if you're a fan of me, I mean.
Yeah.
How
else are you gonna prove your love and ability to become a husband? Than becoming a paid pig first.
I want a provider, man. Someone who can donate to my Patreon.
Yeah.
Where does the name for what is it called? Philemanism? What is it called?
Thalema.
What?
Yeah.
Thalema. Thalema. I was thinking Philemon, like the Dream Guide.
No.
Okay. That's how my mind works.
So I want to get back to what we were talking about before with the contact of all these different spirits. So someone like John Dee, he purported to contact angels, in Queen Elizabeth's court, which could have been just other demonic entities that were just fucking around with him. I don't know. But, how do you know who exactly you're speaking with? How do you know if you contacted an angel or you contacted a demon?
That's a good question. In the Bible, there's a couple of examples. Well, one particular example where they do call a spirit out of Sheol, and he says, "Why did you do this? You have no idea who you're calling. Yeah, they're all liars in death. Which is kind of sort of they do it by pouring milk and honey into the ground, which is sort of like calling a spirit from the realm of the hungry ghosts, kind of. But they're always hungry, they're always thirsty, and they're liars. So you don't know what you're getting. And biblically, that's one of the reasons why a lot of Christians say, well, this is why you kind of stay away from that world. And in the Quaker tradition is you don't need to call a external spirit. You can listen to the inner light, which is inside of you.
And how do you make sure that the inner light that's inside of you isn't just some other demonic entity tricking you into thinking it's the light?
That's why you have community and fellowship with other believers, so that you can kind of test that against each other. So if you come and you're like, hey, everybody, this angel that's inside of me just told me to kill everyone. They're like, nah, doesn't really work with what our experience of God is.
I think it's crazy. When you're talking about this sort of stuff, antinomianism, it just, to me, it's more nuanced than saying there's this, this event happened, modernity happened, and then all of a sudden this new forms of shit. It's no, a lot of stuff that we're seeing now happened before, and a lot of the foundations of the ideas that we're seeing that are becoming social orthodoxy, they all had place even within the ancient world, like Giorgiani mentioned, in sort of the Iranian versions of it. It seems that is a more nuanced take. There's always been these forces of the law and obeying of the orthodoxy that is known as tradition, and the forces that are very much against that within antiquity. It's almost like what Horkheimer and Adorno says about instrumental reason. Instrumental reason was always present even within the ancient world. When he uses the example of the Iliad, the Odyssey, where Odysseus tricks the Cyclops by saying, "I'm nobody," so he stabs him in the eye, and then he goes back to the Greek gods. And he's like, "Who stabbed you in the eye?" He's like, "Nobody." And it's so, in other words, he's using cunningness of reason to defy the ancient order. And so that was even present within the ancient world. It wasn't just a condition of the Enlightenment, and then subsequently these sort of mystery schools that Crowley embodied. It's maybe Crowley, I would think, had a new take on it, because he almost was this is what Robert Anton Wilson said. He was approaching it almost like a scientist, in that he would take a ritual from the East and he would take a ritual from the West. He'd combine them together. He'd do his little experiment. He'd take his little drugs. He's like, okay, what does this do to you? And it seems that he had almost this instrumental reason that he injected into mysticism by experimenting and doing these different rites and combining them together the way a scientist would combine various chemicals to create new substances. It's almost like he was almost at the cusp of that modern consciousness and I don't know. It's really
Well, we're
Yeah.
dealing, or we seem to be dealing with three.
And I
things
know
here.
I'm distracted by this anime image. I can't believe
yeah.
it.
Do
What
you
the
like,
hell is this chat today?
Do you like horny bunnies, Gio? Do you like horny bunnies? Anyway,
No,
no, you don't like horny bunnies. Okay, so here's
children
where,
had to go. So yeah.
so here's where I'm getting at. I think we are dealing with three different movements. One is a much more traditionalist movement, whether it's a Hindu, Christian, whatever that people are embodying. Then we have the mystery schools, and in the mystery schools we seem to have two different things. We have these rebels, as you mentioned, who would seek out this free love type of state. So going back to Iran, you would have it in the Mastakites. You would also have it in esoteric versions of Islam, as Giorgiani points out. If we're talking about not just the Shia, but also the assassins, with Hassan Saba and all those people, we're talking about people who wanted to take
what's
Sharia.
The spinning Muslims.
What?
The spinning dance.
The
Sufis,
whirling
they do the whirling
dervishes.
dervish.
Yes.
Sufis.
Yeah, the Sufis. So they saw Sharia law as something that was going to play out, but eventually it too will be overturned. And that is also part of what needs to happen. And that is, from what I understand, in the esoteric sects of a lot of different Muslims. But then there's also the third thing, which is kind of what people point to the United States and Atlantis and a lot of these other groups being, which is a much more controlled, I wouldn't say maybe authoritarian, but a much more controlled philosophical imperial state, something that John Dee was talking about, something that the founding fathers were talking about. So how exactly would we define this difference between this more, this vision of Atlantis, this vision of ancient Egypt with this high priest class who knew about the cosmos and the ability to, create and experience things that, Georgina, you probably experience on a regular basis. But they were the elites, and they were doing this while everybody else was just like farming or whatever. So where do you think we're headed as far as the crossing of the paths of these three groups? The really religious group, who's just like very traditional, the upper class, whatever you want to call it, Atlantean group of these philosopher king type people, and this rebellious group of the Mastakites and all these esoteric sects that want free love and all the stuff we mentioned before. So Georgina, let's start with you. Where do you think this intersection is going to be, and how do you think it's going to play out? Any idea?
I mean, that's a hard question. I think that the lines will kind of continue to blur. I think we're kind of moving towards where all these things are merging progressively over time. I think they'll continue to blur as kind of culture continues in the direction it's going, and people kind of the traditional mindset kind of continues to fade away. I think also combining with the rise of sort of alternative spirituality and all that stuff, I think it'll kind of come together and just become more of a blurred thing.
Are you concerned in any
For
way
now,
about this?
but wait until things collapse and then we'll talk. No,
well, are you concerned in any way with, let's say, people are, like there was this documentary, and again, I take these things not with a grain, but with a pound of salt. All these New World Order documentaries that talk about the rise of the beast, 666, all this
Great
stuff.
Reset, Build Back Better, it's all there.
Yes,
it's all there.
But they talk about how you have like the Freemasons who do this resurrection ceremony across from the presidential inauguration, where they're supposed to resurrect Osiris, and eventually what they envision is having a world government with the...
I don't think that's true.
You don't buy it. You don't buy it.
A lot of conspiracy theorist stuff like that comes from anti-Semitic conspiracy theory.
Oh, come on. Here we go.
No.
That
I want to hear...
is a CIA, like the original term conspiracy theory. That is an OSS operation. The reason they want to equate conspiracy theorism with anti-Semitism is because
there has historically been an overlap between conspiracy theory mentalities and anti-Semitism.
There has been. No, I agree with her.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there could be some...
And whenever I hear people talk about the elites, that bell Red flag.
Well, I don't know. I mean, 109. Never mind. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole with you. It's just, it's too.
There's a YouTuber named the Nematon who's a Freemason.
Oh,
he is definitely. He talks about all that stuff pretty openly. He gives good information. I check his stuff out. Pretty much every Freemason that I've met through like occult Discord servers and whatnot have kind of just said that Freemasonry is just a lot less esoteric than they were expecting, and it's just kind of a lot of white men like having brunch together.
But what we do have that I would say is not is more of like out of the horse's mouth type of things is we do have this guy Klaus Schwab who is coming out and saying that he wants this, you know, very much like a communist type system where people aren't going to own anything. And this is not a theory. This is something that he has openly stated, and you can read about in the documents that the World Economic Forum has put out. That doesn't mean that, you know, he's not a Freemason. He's just some weird old man who happens to think that this is the best way forward for humanity. And there have always been people like that.
I think he
who
probably
have
is
these
a
ideas.
Freemason if you look hard enough, though. I mean, it's
okay,
not out of the realm of possibility. But no, I think
the point, like,
my contention would be that power itself is sort of like an occult force, and it makes sense that a lot of occultism is centered around corporeal and temporal power. I don't think it's a conspiracy. Now, you could say that maybe certain language comes from the, you know, the protocols and all that stuff, but I don't know. I just.
But the protocols itself was a forged document, which was based on the manuscript. And again, no, but it's like when you're getting a lot of these different ideas, it's not like they're coming from the ether. In this case, they're coming from concerns people in the early 20th century had already when they were seeing a lot of things that, according to them, were going in the wrong direction. You know, like the consolidation of power, central banking, all of that stuff was already there. So it's not like you didn't have.
No, but that's the thing. Every society had mystery schools that were intimately tied to the whichever power structure existed at the time. And it's Uber Grump and Geo Fear. Look at the chat. Oh my god. But no, to me, I don't know. I just balk at the assertion that there's no validity to it. I mean, certainly there is a sort of propensity to certain forms of xenophobia in a lot of these groups, but I do think that, I don't know. I mean, the idea of a mystery school controlling things, I mean, that was the Roman Empire. I mean, come on. Like
I don't think a mystery school.
The Thule societies in Europe. I mean, it's just.
Well, that's a good point, right, Georgina? There was the Thule Society, and that was very instrumental back in the day.
I don't think there's one now.
I don't know.
We get into the whole conspiracy theory thing. I think a lot of it has really questionable. It's just there's a lot that I really doubt.
But see, but being a Jew, being a person of Jewish descent, what's important for me personally is to separate, when we're talking about this, separate away completely all the just regular Jewish people that would have zero to do with any of these things that are talked about, and not talk about in terms of Jewish, non-Jewish, but see, like, is there any validity at all to any of these claims that are being made? And I know that people kind of get on their, you know, battle stations on whichever side, like, absolutely yes, absolutely no. I myself have no idea. I didn't really research this stuff that much. All I could see is that people like, for example, in Bohemian Grove, what can we say? We can say that Alex Jones interviewed a...
people control it, just probably be like the aristocracy. I don't really think that there's some sort of elite conspiracy. I mean, you can make an argument we're kind of controlled by just the very wealthy people.
No, but what I can say, though, what has been established is when
there's certainly not a monolith. I mean, there's elites that compete against each other.
Sure.
I don't think it's like, though, I don't know. I mean, as soon as you start getting into, like, you know, Fritz Springmeier bloodline stuff, that's a bit.
But the problem, Gio, is that all of this is very anecdotal. This is not anything that we can definitively say. But what we can definitively say, very simply, is David Gergen was interviewed by Alex Jones, and he was one of the people who went to that Bohemian Grove event, and he said, "I disrespect you for talking to me about this." And the video was done of Bohemian Grove, and it was all these very rich and influential people that put on these weird looking suits do all these chants, sing and dance, and do all these very kind of like I don't know if druid-like would be the right way to put it, but it's like in the forest. It's located, very beautiful forest, by the way. I think it's the Redwoods. And they do all
Near
these...
Big Sur.
Yeah, they do all these rituals with like a mock human sacrifice and things like that. I don't know if they do it anymore. But the point is that at the least, we can say that people in certain positions of power like to dress up in funny costumes and do things that have something related to mystery schools. I think, like Georgina, we could both agree.
And whether it's not a LARP or
else.
not, I mean, that's the contention. Is it just a LARP? Like, is it an elite? Like, I don't know. They dress up and have sex parties. Is it that, or is it like the real? Like they go and do
well
ritual,
before
like,
no, but
legit,
before
they take DMT and they contact the space aliens and the reptilians.
Well, no, before going into that,
about the New Age movement. The New Age movement. There's some.
There is some like, but this is what I mean. I mean, a lot of people they speculate this connection that Crowley was like he was a MI6 asset, and that's kind of a lot of those documents are sus. But I think Myth of the 20th Century podcast did an episode of this, but there is a lot of evidence to suggest that the New Age movement itself was aided by certain forces within intelligence agencies, especially the drug culture aspect of it. And furthermore, I think even within a lot of the activity that was happening in the 19th century, and modern hermeticists, you could talk to this, a lot of, and you mentioned about the Orientalist aspect of it. I think that's interesting how a lot of centered around Thelema, a lot of the sort of culmination of texts from the East coming into the West is another aspect of it. So there's a lot of different strains between
and romanticism.
And the exactly, the neo-primitivism and romanticism. Of course, this was the time of Impressionism and Post-Impressionism as well. So you had Gauguin and Picasso and Georges Braque and later. And so there's a lot of these different currents that are coming together at this time that are, and I would say there is a political dimension in this. And we see this with the New Age movement. And I think, I don't know, like, I hope I'm not like coming off like I'm trying to mog you or anything, Georgina.
I mean, like,
I respect your opinion. It's just that. Go ahead.
I mean, I do think the New Age movement does have influences from Thelema. Totally true. I don't think there's some massive conspiracy theory. I don't agree with you there. It's okay for us to disagree. I kindly think you're wrong.
But I'm just musing upon this connection between these different forces that have come together from the 19th century into the early 20th century.
But we can still, I think, Georgina, meet at this point, which is we can both agree right now, unless you need me to send you the video later so that could be proven to you visually. But we could agree that there are people who are in high positions that have been videotaped and Bohemian Grove putting on these funny-looking outfits and prancing around and doing, mystery school stuff. Regardless of whether it's a LARP or whatever, we can agree that this was something that happened, regardless of anything else.
I'm sorry, you're going to need to send me a lot.
Okay, I will do that. Because again, I'm not saying anything more than just these people dress up in the costumes and that's it. And that's okay. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to say all the things that a lot of conspiracy-oriented people like to say about them. But I do want to establish a certain baseline that we can then use to say, okay, this may be why some people think A, B, and C. This is like the stuff that they're drawing from.
Why people buy into conspiracy theories. I think conspiratorial thinking is very appealing. I think that there's a lot of kind of things in our psychology that draw us towards it. I think it's comforting. I think it explains a lot of things and it makes us feel like we know more than we actually do. I think I get why people like them. They're not my thing for a variety of reasons. But I do get why people like them. They're just not for me.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think again, that knowing that the world's run by demonic pedophiles, I don't think that's comforting at all.
But again, the thing that's missing for me here, the thing that's missing.
QAnon? Are we talking about QAnon
No,
now?
QAnon is a LARP. It's a stupid thing that the media puts out to, get into all
QAnon
these
was
heads
probably
with.
some intelligence agent. Let's face it; it probably was some intelligence agency project.
No, but here's
probably
where
was something like that.
here's where I want to go with this, because I think this is a very big divide that's going on within people today. And Georgina, I think it's very imperative that you are here as somebody who does not believe in it. We need people like you. We need people who are going to be very strict with the information that you're putting into your head so that you can verify a lot of things properly. So again, all that I would say here is that, and I'll send you the videos later, but just right now, take it from me being as honest as I possibly can. If there is an organization out there, Bohemian Grove, where people, you could look up the people who attended this thing, lots of heads of state, foreign ministers, just lots of people in big positions of power. So you have all these people that attended it.
What did Nixon say about it?
Oh yeah, he says like, yeah. Well, okay. I'm not gonna get into that right now.
Goddamn F-slur thing.
But anyway. The point that I'm trying to make here, Georgina,
I think we're getting off topic.
No, not off topic. This is exactly on topic. This is a very important thing.
We've been off topic for like 20 minutes.
Exactly. So I must
We
go
still
on.
haven't gotten to what exactly Thalemic.
Hold on. We're gonna get there. This is very important that I say this right now. So, what I want to establish here is, if there are all these heads of state, all these ministers, all these very important people that have been documented as being members of and going to the ceremony known as Bohemian Grove among all these beautiful redwood trees in California, if this has been documented, and if there has been a video that was shot of that giant owl statue where there was singing and hymns and ceremonies where these people were wearing robes, at the least you could say that they're kind of into, druid-like things that have to do with, very similar to occult ritual practices. I don't think that that's some great leap of becoming a conspiracy theorist to at least say that that's what was going on there. And then we can say, okay, so why would somebody in the most sober possible way, why would some head of state be interested in attending a weird ceremony like that? And I don't see anything that, from there we would say is absolutely 100%, they're like lizard people or whatever, fuck that. All that I'm saying is that it's a baseline that I think people rarely can meet on, because either one side is like fully on with the conspiracies and the other side would completely deny them. So Georgina, what I said right now, would you give credence to anything of that nature?
I mean, unless I actually have the videos and I can view them and I can search them.
I'll send you the videos. Okay.
A lot of information. Because otherwise, I'm not just gonna blindly agree with some conspiracy theory just because you guys say you believe in it.
Okay, but can I just say something real fast?
Go for it.
So, if you watch the video, which you will, because it'll be sent to you, you'll see that they're putting at least an amount of credence into what they're doing as like a play or LARPers would, which is a fair amount of effort into what they're doing. Above that, it's similar to something like Mass at church, right? Which is a ritual act, right? So they at least believe that something's going on there. Like there's at least some sort of reverence or ceremony being observed by everyone, right? That just itself is enough for me to go, okay, there's something like, what is this? Like, what's happening here now? This isn't just like some weird, like these are heads of state, these are bankers, these are presidents, and like what is this? Like, why are they burning a child at effigy? That's strange. Like,
so I don't have a video here.
Yeah.
I don't have a video here, but this is a screen cap from the ceremony.
Wow,
So this was the
picture.
So
What
this was
No, it's not.
So this
Okay,
was the wooden
there-
owl over here, and or stone owl, and these were the outfits that they were wearing. So again, I'm not gonna make anything else out of this than this was the video that was shot. But you could, pinpoint exactly where this thing was going on Google Maps. So again, it's not like this isn't some art project that somebody did. This is something.
This place isn't a secret.
they do this. It's not like, oh, like, I guess you could think of it as something that's, we're making implications, but the place exists. These people do this shit. It's kind of strange.
Well, if it's not real, it might as well be, as someone said in a certain book. So,
exactly, like, right? Like, I feel like if they're doing a quote unquote ritual act, it's at least give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that they're doing it for a reason that they believe. Like, not. I think the dumbest thing is to do this thing where we just assume that it's all bullshit immediately. Like, it's like somebody could do the same thing about all of the writings of Crowley, which you give credence to, I think, because you think that there's something there, which is fine, right? But I think there's no harm in looking at what's happening here as something that's a little strange, considering the context of what's happening.
She dropped off.
No, she had to go.
Oh, she had to go. Oh, well. Well, what are we going to do? I mean, I wish we could have talked with Georgina a little bit more about this. I mean, honestly, like, I don't want to, I'm not saying that we scared her off or anything like that. I mean, I don't know. All I'm saying here is that I want to come at this in a very sober fashion.
I hope we didn't.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously. Am I screaming pedophile demon goblins? No, I'm just saying, why are they wearing fucking robes?
So again,
weird.
No, the owl of Modern Hermetic says the owl is a symbol, I believe. So someone says Archthumos, it's a bringer of evil. It's because the owl is a night creature. It's usually like it has nocturnal sight, and so it's always been equated with. I think there's some genealogy
it
there
peers
why,
into the
why
darkness.
they equate it with Moloch, because it's like the symbol of the unseen wisdom, something like that.
That's Athena, though. That has nothing to do with Moloch.
No, I don't know. It's for some reason it's like they got the switches
Athena
crossed.
has always been the owl, yeah, because the owl is wise, right, and she's wise. I think I think it's fair to look into the symbolism of the owl, definitely. Like, I think that what's weird is that they're burning what looks like a person or child in effigy in front of it.
We don't have the video. We don't have the video right now in front of us, which is another problem. Like, I went to YouTube right now to try to find the video.
They probably purged it.
Yeah, and it's weird because that video, like, I remember seeing it all the time. I found the photo.
They purged Alex Jones.
Yeah, exactly.
You can probably find it on Daily Motion or some live leak or whatever the hell, right?
Yeah,
but sure.
I think
that's one of the most ridiculous videos.
A point I would say in defending this stuff, and like, here's the thing, it's very hard to discern because there is a lot of psyops going on. There is a lot of like glow in the dark activity when it comes to conspiracy theories. So it is very hard to ascertain what is fact and what is true. But I would say that the problem comes from a lot of our perception as moderns itself, and the fundamental break into modernity that we've experienced, whether that's fictitious or not. There's people like Latour that said that that's all bullshit, that there was no modern break. But let's just assume that with the sort of the epoch that we're in of scientism, empiricism, secular existentialism, and so forth, that we don't realize that a lot of public activity is quite ritualistic, even within our epoch of clinical, utilitarian, scientific, public managerial state expertism. There still is a lot of ritualism and occultism that happens within even the most utilitarian of managerial state bodies and organs, because throughout human history, every political arrangement was met with a level of ritual and occultism by definition. And so my defense of conspiracies in this line, I would say that this sort of impulse, this metaphysics has not left us, but it's just hidden itself because of certain discourses that were adopted, from the Enlightenment onwards. I don't know. I maybe I'm just fucking crazy and I just want to defend bullshit that I've read since I was, quite. I don't know. What do you say?
Well, I don't want to defend bullshit, but what I want to do is actually give an opportunity for, let's say, somebody like Georgina to be able to, given as much evidence as possible, say, okay, this is what we can say, but we cannot go, further than this because we don't really have any evidence that's compelling enough. What I don't understand is just completely dismissing the whole thing entirely, and I hope that we would be able to...
but I don't know. I feel it's hard for... It's hard for a lot of people. I think that because the conspiracy movement has done a poor job because of various, schizophrenics and schizoposters and all that. I think they've, so it's the perception is that if you say, here's the problem is that we view power nowadays as no longer having a continuity with a tradition or with a structure, because by definition, liberal society is meant to decentralized power into like what people learn in school, which is like there's representative democracy and all of that. So really, because we have this mindset that power is no longer within its act something that is meant to not just hierarchize, but to become this game, this interplay, this network that influences and creates virtually every interaction and creates the very foundations of knowledge that we experience. Because of that, we think that power is merely the possession of a sort of politics that is expressed, and there's like different ways of working it, when really power is more than just embodied within the political class. It's something that is almost like a metaphysics that operates throughout all of society, in my view anyways. So I think it's hard because we think that we're above the ancient view of power, which was very metaphysical. We think that power is sort of like this contained body that operates within a certain parameter within liberal society. But really, in essence, our modern liberal society runs from various states of exception that is like, it has to break its own rules to even function. And so people have this perception that power is no longer something that is deeply and intimately tied to the sort of the logos of each civilization. I don't know. I'm just, well, I think...
I'm going to ask a modern hermeticist.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear. Yeah,
what do you think? Because you've been here through this whole conversation with us and Georgina and back and forth. And again, like my whole thing is I'm actually incredibly grateful to have somebody like Georgina on, somebody who would say, you know what, there is a lot of anti-Semitic bullshit in these conspiracy theories people keep bringing up. Good, because I want to separate the anti-Semitism. I want to separate the accusation of Jewish people, that are thrown a lot of times away from things that could be, let's say, gone through with a fine-tooth comb very soberly, just like, and that's the thing that really just threw me off. Like, why not go through this very soberly and say, okay, fine, you need the video, then we will send the video, but this is all we know right now, and then we can move on.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, if you have something to say, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I think in terms of like, I'm very cautious in dealing with all of this stuff because right out the gate, you guys were talking about conspiracies as this like blanket term. Are they real or are they not real? And it's sort of like, no, they're not real. And then Gio's like, yeah, they're real. And so to me, real. I'm just like,
no, they're not real. Yeah, they're real. Yeah, it's very reductionist. Yeah.
So, like, you would have to be making specific claims, and then we would have to talk about what the evidence on those claims are.
Exactly.
And I think, there are lots of things that we would call conspiracies that are going on, or there is a lot of occult in the world. Bohemian Grove, to me, is whatever. Like, that's something people do. People have always done rituals. People have always been part of confraternities, and especially when they're like yearly club things. What makes something yearly is the fact that there are specific ritual events that you can like plug into these cycles. And every time you come together, you do these things over and over again. So yeah, there probably is some sort of weird club sort of ritual that they like to do. I don't know why people connect it with Moloch, because it's an owl. There's no, like, it's arguable that Moloch isn't even a god. Moloch is like a kind of sacrifice. And so people make all of these elaborate conspiracies from the ancient Phoenicians existing on until today, and they link it through all of these different bloodlines. And there's usually just people don't show evidence for those kinds of claims. So that's a whole other ballgame. But yeah, Bohemian Grove is a kind of milquetoast thing. I don't know what the whole.
And that's why it was really weird to me. Why that's the thing that really, like, again, I don't know what happened.
Like this?
It's just being skeptical, and that's fine. Like,
I think it's the meme quality of Bohemian Grove.
People haven't seen all of that evidence, and
but that's why
if Thanksgiving is a fucking ritual, that's a ritual. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that automatically they're sacrificing humans. I'm saying there's something happening there that you need to acknowledge.
What about like in modern hermeticist, in your research and your academic career, what was the political milieu around Florence at the time of Pico, and what it was controlled by the Italian city-states, right? There was still like the city-state model, or how was it?
Yeah, well, Florence itself was controlled by the Medici, who got very wealthy through being cloth merchants first, and then getting into banking, and then getting into usury, which was unusual at the time, which then they basically created capitalism in a way. And so that is the social media. There were also a lot of pressures coming in from the Ottoman Empire. And so a lot of the intellectuals, there were Greek intellectuals fleeing into Florence and into the Italian city-states, and they were bringing some of these more esoteric ideas like the Corpus Hermeticum and the works of Plato and so forth. But the astrology, the magic, all of that stuff, that was not new in Florence. That actually had always really, had not always been around, but it had been around for quite a while. But what were you thinking about Florence in particular in terms of?
No, I think because that condition is sort of a maybe a good parallel to our time of a certain decaying power structure. And I mean, who knows, maybe the ultra capitalists will sort of have their own breakaway city states. Like you'll have the state of Amazon versus the state of McDonald's. And then you'll sort of, it's sort of like there's starting to be a harmonious, not total repeat, but a sort of, what would you say, a convergence with the same sort of conditions that happen at the end of a great epoch. It's starting to replicate itself again. And I don't know, it's just, to me, there's a lot of fascinating parallels between the end of the Roman Empire, the end of the Italian city-states, and what we're seeing nowadays. And by the way, to address no one in the chat, hopefully Paul Talk will come on to the stream and we will debate about contemporary art, so that hopefully he will. Yes. But I don't know, he's a boomer, so I don't know if he knows how to handle Zoom, but we'll see what happens.
Come on, you got to give more faith to the boomers here.
Paul Talk viciously attacked me in this video he did against my takes on defending Anselm Kiefer, but people tell me that he's not a mean-spirited guy. He loves debating people, so hopefully we'll have a good. Anyway, so modern hermeticists, what do you think about? That's totally side note, but what do you think of?
This? My god! Oh, this tweet. Sorry, no, carry on. I just saw the tweet. I just saw I do not support, and then
what?
Oh Lord!
Where is she? No.
Oh my god.
No.
I didn't even want sex so far. I didn't.
Okay. Hold on. First of all, it is true that we do get a lot of unfortunately a lot of very vitriolic people in the chat sometimes when it comes to the way that they behave. I honestly didn't think it was that. I thought that everything in the chat seemed fine with her and everybody was vibing well. I thought honestly it was Bohemian Grove was the thing that kind of set her off. But I guess it was some of the more rowdy people in the chat that ended up doing it. And again, I don't know how these dynamics work with some people, because it seems like with some people, whatever they talk about in the chat is going to be fine. It's in the chat with the furry guy. That was a big issue with him. He saw what was going on in the chat, and he was very, very upset, and he left. So I don't know. It's just one of these things that I don't really know how to answer. Like, I can't really go and just keep pressing the delete button all the time. It just seems like one of these things. Let people vent out whatever the fuck they're going to write, and don't let it get to you. I mean, maybe I should say in the beginning to all the people who are coming in here, we're going to have some bad shit being written down in the chat. Just ignore that. That has nothing to do with the conversation that we're doing at hand. Some people are going to want to troll you, mog you, whatever. Everybody knows, again, I'm a Jewish guy who's always fucking standing up for the Jewish people on this stream, making it known that I want to talk about all these various theories, conspiracy theories, whatever you want to say, and completely removing any Jewish element from them, because I have no doubt personally that they are not connected.
So, did someone call her anti-white in the chat? I don't know.
I didn't ask if she was Jewish. I don't know if she actually was or not. Like, I just want to know if she was Jewish or not.
Look at these simps replying to her. Oh my god, that's so fucking awesome.
Everyone, the problem is, it's just this clashes. Whenever a female joins this stream, the ego stream's going to be like, you're going to get like 5
No,
of
but
those.
this never happens with like Jugs or, well, we're going to have Alex Kashuta on. This never happens with certain, I think it seems to be like certain types of femmes that come on. I don't know.
Yeah, well, hold on. I mean, Ding Dong.
We don't listen. The reason we don't moderate the chat, because I personally believe that moderating the chat is bullshit. Apart from gamer words that could get us banned, I think we believe in total free expression,
yes.
And I don't believe in censoring people in the chat. To me, that's just bullshit. But
let the degenerates be degenerates.
I think like you have to realize when you come on the stream, the chat is going to say whatever, and it's not under our control. And furthermore, to go and ban people from the chat because they say certain mean things, I don't know. To me, that just it makes me cringe. I don't know.
That's being a Janny, and we don't want to.
It's being a Janny. No, we are a no Janny zone right here.
Exactly.
And the thing is, I don't exactly agree with. Like, here's the thing. I try to be respectful to every guest that comes on, obviously. And people have told me, they're like, oh, Gio, how do you tolerate this cringe? I go, listen, they come on and they, there are people who are good about it there are some people who have been totally fucking mogged. Like let's name names. Gennady gets totally fucking mogged every single time he comes on, but he has the balls to take it.
The Chad Gennady,
yeah.
So you guys have been very accepting of my bullshit, to be honest. My dumb memes. So I'm quite happy.
Yeah. I mean, you Ewan here, he does whole experimental art shows on the stream.
Yeah,
and
I really want my webcam to get back as soon as the shops are open. I'm getting a fucking webcam. I'm gonna have some fun.
Lev is going to compile the experimental art of Ewan. So yeah, but that's anyways. This is all just drama. This is all bullshit.
Can we just address something real quick? So now that we're out of the baby talk clearly. So okay, there is the whole elephant in the room of if you like Crowley and you think that he's somebody that you should be emulating his thought process and life and the things that he did, right? Are you going to be summoning spirits to your house? Like what are you going to be doing that for? And if you are doing that, and if you believe that that's possible, why do you then think it's ridiculous that people might be sacrificing shit? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you get to a point where you don't think it's possible that there's dark magic being done, but you think magic is real and that you're doing it? Like, I just don't get it. I don't get how you can have both of those thoughts in your mind. Like, I don't understand how somebody can think that Crowley is a good idea of a person to emulate and follow. I just don't. It's like, it's such a crash and burn. It's like the Hindenburg. And you're like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Like, what? Why? Seriously, but he's spoken of in this way that's like, I understand he wasn't a complete moron. He wasn't like, he's not devoid of any substance. It's just that he just like catastrophically failed, and seemingly like maybe it's because this guy was meddling with things that he shouldn't have been meddling with. You know what I mean? He's interacting with forces that maybe he should not be interacting with. Like last time I was on, you know what I mean, the whole jinn shit idea. It's like maybe there's a reason. It's like trying to get in a compact when you're a baby and the other person is like potentially Al Capone. You know what I mean? Like, how are you going to have an equal contract with something that it knows, you know, infinitely more than you?
The Thalemites have what's it called? The most important part before and after all rituals are the what's it called? The banishment stuff to make sure everything's clear. But I'm not.
But see, but I'm not 100% of the mind that works necessarily. Like, you think it works, and maybe I'm not some sort of super. I'm not a magus or a magician or any of these people, right? It might be interesting to get somebody like Black Pope Vice on or something like that, because those guys actually do that stuff. You know what I mean? So I'd be curious to hear what they have to say on this kind of thing. But it just seems like why, bro? Just go pray. Like, it just like go
exactly.
Like, you know,
prayer indeed. I need to pray more.
Yeah, like, why would you go through something that you like? It's like you're asking for a middleman who also might be like a parasitic shark.
I feel like a lot of this occultism stuff, all this prayers, all these stones, these candles, these satanic crystals, underestimates the power of human will. Because a lot of them is just like, oh, I need like the power of demons, I need the power of these. But if you try and like focus your energy on something and your willpower, you are actually going to be able to change more than you think, rather than thinking you need to rely on this satanic god, these demons to make you like go out for a jog or something. Because that's what I feel like a lot of these people are like praying for sometimes.
A lot of these people are actual atheists who like rationalize the demonic stuff with like, I focus my will on this ritual, making my subconscious like do this activity I don't really want to do, or whatever.
We have right now Darling. She is in the YouTube chat. I just want to say that, number one, the people in the Zoom call have been nothing but extremely respectful to you this entire time, and on Twitter you're writing about how toxic of an experience you had. I'm sorry, but in the very beginning and in the middle, as various things were going on, you were playing around with the chat. You were playing with them and we were having fun. I don't know where the limit was for you as far as the things they said. We don't censor our chat, and as far as any of the other, like, if you started feeling bad when certain things were being said in the chat, again, you could have said something, and I would have told people to calm it down. Again, I don't censor comments unless it's like things that get us explicitly taken down. But again, this is like something that I think is kind of a miscommunication, but I don't like the fact that you are calling this stream toxic. These are some of the greatest people that we have on here today who are very respectful with you, and with the whole anti-Semitic conspiracy theory stuff. This is what I was talking about in the very beginning, again, having to do with wanting to completely separate away the anti-Semitic element, which I think is ridiculous, and is something that my family back in the USSR and back in Imperial Russia before that were beaten up for, and were gotten in trouble for, because they were Jewish. So I'm sorry, but don't tell me about anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. I'm the one who's trying
Pat should join again.
I'm the one.
I think she should join.
Yes, I think you should join.
I'm saying like nicely, she should join, because I feel like there's a lot of stuff here, and I feel like this is interesting as well to talk about as a general sense. She should join. We should come back.
Yes.
Because I feel like we can recover this. This isn't too big of a deal.
No,
I'm
but
a bit of a dick.
I didn't say nothing about you. None of us said anything about Jews. If you
No,
saw
but
something saying something about Jews,
No.
in
It was talked about.
You need to relax.
It was talked about
Like-
in the realm of conspiracy theories, and like I said before, what I want to do is I want to extract any of the conspiracy theory elements out of the anti-Semitism and actually talk about them in a sober way and see how far can we actually go here to say what are things we can all agree on, because then we have a baseline, right? Then we have something that we can work from, and we don't need to stay in these tribal, situations. Because I'm sorry, but this whole thing, like, oh, this was toxic and all that. This divides us, and I don't want to divide us. I would want you to come back here on the stream and talk with us. But again, like, this is very surprising for me. The chat, I'm not going to censor it, and
we don't have control. Okay, A, we don't have control of the chat, and B, nor would we want to censor people in the chat, because I frankly believe that's bullshit. And that we're above.
Oh, you're being called a Nazi channel now. I'm having a look at some of these things. This is ridiculous.
This is
ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
Where, on Twitter? On Twitter?
Yeah, I found it. Let me post it. I mean, I'm not surprised, but you're being called a Nazi now.
Lev Polyakov, Jewish Nazi named Lev Polyakov. He's here.
Imagine having this is
the Ubermensch.
I shouldn't look at
Look
Twitter.
at this simp right here.
Look, this is what happens.
Oh my god.
Get him on. Get him on after nerd.
You've ascended. You're a Jewish Nazi.
Hold on. I'm not...
Oh wow! It seems that the Simpergate has already come in on Twitter. So
this was because I got what was it in
this
the
is the
Adolf
true,
Hitler
this is
in
the
the
true
evil
power
villain
of
test.
Dilemma.
That's why.
This is what Dilemma does.
I mean, this is
I thought the furries were bad. I mean, my god.
I mean, this is a very funny thing, because all this time, like, Gio, you remember, with Kaliak, with all the things that we have been through time and time again, I was constantly making an example that Jewish people, from my own experiences being a Jewish person myself and all the people that I know, I want to get rid of the stupid stereotype that people have about the Jews. And here, just this one mention of Bohemian Grove and wanting to be very sober about how we're talking about it, that's the thing that set her off. I'm sorry, but that's disgusting. I think it's fucking disgusting that somebody goes out there on Twitter and starts accusing people of being Nazis and anti-Semites. From what? From what exactly did you get this? For me, all the time talking about how we need to separate the conspiracy theories away from anti-Semitism, from talking about how horrible I think anti-Semitism is, and
you
how
have to realize that they mean what they think. They think everything is anti-Semitism. So it's just
this tweet doesn't even make sense. Like you didn't watch the stream. Oh, we're all just talking to you. Like we were all just talking to you normally, and then you got triggered by the chat and left, and now you're implying that the stream is bad. It's like,
oh, Paul Town, yes!
Wait, what
happened? I really like that.
I know Gio is being sexually aggressive. Yes! Oh boy! Thank you, Paul Town.
People are posting edgy stuff now.
I love Paul Town. We need Paul Town on the show, by the way. If people know the lore, they were.
What did Paul Town just do?
He said, "I noticed that how sexually aggressive Gio is being towards you. It left me disgusted in his shit." Oh boy.
Gio's not the kind of guy to be sexually aggressive though. What happens with Gio? Right?
No, you don't get it. Paul Town is being.
No, I know he is. Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. But if we're talking the Gio lore here, right? Gio has basically a harem of like real trad girls listening to him recite Hegel
all the time
and all of these like philosophies.
He doesn't need Thalemic.
I don't need. Look at this Astro nerd
without trying. That's what happens.
Yeah. Data Darling is a fucking queen. These insult alt-right scumlords can't handle that she's going to shoot into the atmosphere, leaving them behind and obscure. This is like next level. But anyways, shout out to Paul Town.
It might be bait,
Paul Town, you are the great. But yes, my harem of high IQ e-girls, they like to hear me talk about Clement Greenberg and
Wax Poetic,
and Hegel and Julius Evola. So don't worry about it. No, I don't have any animosity towards Georgina. I feel that we had a disagreement, and you really shouldn't pay attention to the chat if it's that concerning.
Seriously.
It's just
Just don't. Just close your eyes.
Yeah, it ain't real. Just close your eyes.
Yeah, but seriously, it's unironically none of the things that they say matter. It's irrelevant.
Exactly.
So like
it isn't totally irrelevant. We have a great fan base.
No.
It's just that I feel
what I mean by
not
that
irrelevant
is
if
they're
we're talking
upsetting
about it,
you. If it's upsetting you, it's just words on a screen. It doesn't matter. None of, like, they're not going to come to your. Nothing's happening. So
it's just
who cares?
I feel that is just the.
We're not doing that.
The argument is that, oh, you've cultivated a fan base of evil Nazis that hate women. It's just like we've had so many different like people that
based.
And there's been so many different people from different walks of life that have come on. And there has been people that that have been very, good sports about it. It's just that when you come on to a stream in any public internet forum, you should expect at least some pushback, unless you're doing something that is like, I don't know, you're going on some fucking breadtube stream where they heavily censor the chat. And it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't even want to talk about this. This is totally just derail. And this is the thing. This is their tactic, is meant to derail the stream. That is, you know what I mean? Like that's like low level, like SJW, like 2015 bullshit, where there's like that.
We can talk about Crowley and his influence, and I think this discussion was extremely interesting. The idea that this guy basically defined the age in a behavioral sense, like he's like the ultimate look at me, I'm so cool, but I'm also like mysterious and dark and edgy. Because like in one way he's trying to get laid, but he also wants like to know the secrets of the world, and he's like the ultimate like neat, like he's doing it, you know what I mean? But at the same time he catastrophically failed. So he's an extremely interesting person to talk about. Like it's not even. I think I'm sad that she left, because she was the person that was the most sympathetic to him. And I wanted to hear her. So I had questions for her. Like I wanted to know what her practice entails, all of that stuff, because I'm just curious. But the chat.
And the thing,
all of this is reminding me a bit of the Doug TeNapel stuff. I was like watching a bit of that one, just the whole like stuff he was saying about you gotta signal to everyone that you cannot hang out with these people that alt-right, they're this, they're that. You cannot hang out with them. It's like weak tactics, man. I don't know.
And that's the real toxicity here, because this is how people end up getting separated away from having any meaningful discussion about these things. And what ends up happening, people end up going into their own little circles and just patting themselves on the back and becoming like a hug box. The last thing that I want to do is turn this into a hug box. I welcome people to question anything that goes on, as far as any ideas, as far as any theories people have. And that's again why I was being very open and wanting to be very sober about talking about Bohemian Grove or whatever, let's just lay it out in the open, talk about it, and see what happens. Why is that not enough? What else do I need to do? I don't understand it.
This needed to be a commercial for Thelema. It's like, what? Like, can we not talk about weird stuff? We're talking about magic, for Christ's sake. Like, can we not talk about other weird things that are just like tangentially involved? Like, how is that bad? I don't understand how it's wrong to even begin to talk about this, or like even entertain the idea that it might. Maybe there's something there. Maybe there's something more to what the people in power in the world are doing, especially if you believe that magic is real and it gives you power. It's like, hey, maybe the most powerful people in the world might use this method that you think gives you power, like, or better serves you attaining what you desire, what your will is, right? You would think that maybe the people who are best at doing that, or best at attaining what they desire in the world, are in some way using maybe just a few of these methods. Maybe they just know a little bit about manifesting your will, just a little, maybe, but no.
I don't know. We have no, like I say, we have no control over the chat, and we also don't have control of our critics, but we will continue to have people from the left and the right. And it's just a shame when people realize that it's not a conscious act on our part for people to, like, I don't know, call you, like when you say stuff and people react to it in the chat. I've gotten criticism in the chat. Lev has gotten criticism in the chat.
I've given criticism to you, Gio, you know.
Yeah, it's that's how it goes, and I don't feel I don't know. I don't feel it's necessary.
I want you to lose weight, Gio. I would help you if I was with you.
I'm trying, man. But
no, I don't want to bully you about it, but I want to help. If you were there, I'd be like fucking like training, because it's like I want people to be fit.
The past few weeks, like I've been dealing with a sprained ankle that's better now, and so that's why I wasn't on the stream. And it's just
I'll focus my prayers, okay, on the broken ankle, and I'll make sure like convict conditioning. It's the only good thing that came out of that Roosh book for me. I like saw that bit in it, and I immediately stopped reading it and switched to convict conditioning. So
no, it's just I don't know. It's just surreal when stuff like this happens. But yeah, so I'm glad to be back. My ankle is better. It's just
praise be.
Yeah, imagine having it. Look at this guy. Imagine having a Nazi channel with 238 videos, only 2K subscribers. Like, okay, we've been only really focusing since what, May?
Since May.
And 2K.
Let's
not give them any more attention.
You know what I mean? Let's not
Georgina has more followers. I have fucking more followers. Like, this is just fucking bullshit from a sim. So don't even. I have fucking almost 9K
I started
followers.
this. I feel bad now. I started it. I feel bad.
So don't worry about it, buddy.
I think this is something that I wrote to her over here. So she said, I appreciate that, love. I don't think you were anti-Semitic, but I think you allow it in your chat. So here's what I wrote to her. In less than a year, and this is absolutely true for all the people who are in the know about this, in less than a year, I've had many conversations with people whose mind I have changed about Jews. This would be impossible if I didn't have such an edgy audience, because otherwise everybody is going to be in their bubble with nobody to question their ideas. And I honestly do think that I am on a mission to show people that this impression that they have of Jewish people as being like these very leftist, scheming individuals.
I want to talk about aliens. I want to talk about. I think people want to hear about aliens.
I wanted to get to this connection between Crowley and the UFO movement. So hopefully with Info Warlock in the chat, we can move on from this bullshit. Just one more.
Talk about magic. Let's talk
about from Astro Nerd. It's not edgy or dark humor to make anti-Semitic jokes. You're just a Nazi. Nazis belong in the dirt. Disguising your true feelings as jokes. This is how I imagine these people talk. Oh my god, this is a Nazi.
I would talk about this all day, but I don't even want to go into it. It's just like I don't think about Jews. It's just I don't.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, let's move on. Let's move on from this.
Bringing it all back to conspiracy theories.
Well, I just got here. I apologize for being late, but I have no idea what you guys have discussed up till now. So something interesting, I guess.
No, just
Sneed edit.
No problem. Cool.
Well, yeah, I believe in making your own conspiracy theories. It's being way more entertaining than picking up all the info. You guys had read Robert Anton Wilson?
Yes.
I haven't read.
Yeah. In the Illuminatus trilogy, he says the Pentagon was made to capture the Yog-Sothoth, the Lovecraftian chaos god.
Yeah.
No, I think 9/11 was the Twin Towers was just a distraction from the breaking of the obvious magic seal that is the Pentagon, and releasing this chaos demon into the world, which explains explains everything post 9/11.
But the Pentagon's still there.
Having lived through that period, I would say that like when 9/11 happened in 2001, it was like a switch just got turned on. I don't know. It's just
or maybe those two towers were like representative of the two pillars, from Freemasonry.
Yeah,
Boaz and Joachim.
Yeah, Joachim and Boaz, the severity and mercy pillar, which I think is a representation of the state that a lot of us are in. We could kind of look at it as being, we are trying to get in between the two natures of severity and mercy. Some people are being...
That's Kabbalah, right? Am I?
Yeah, no, that is Kabbalah. And Kabbalah is...
alchemy,
Yeah, and...
It's all Kabbalah.
It's all Kabbalah.
But
no, it is.
I actually think like the those pillars are referenced in Plato's myth about Atlantis, which the Freemasons draw a lot from.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that does make
It's
sense.
Solon, the myth of Solon, right? He was
Yeah.
taken by Egyptian priests underground and shown these two pillars, which were inscribed, I think, with like the history of Atlantis. I might be wrong about that.
Well, I really like the take of Helios Logos, who talks about how Atlantis was supposedly made up of a lot of organic, live material, which is why you don't really find any...
Bioengineers?
Yes, which is why you don't really find any trace of Atlantis, because a lot of it was made up of this, I don't know, I'd imagine some kind of liquidy, goop-like substance that could transform into various.
Well, think
gross
if you could
but...
grow, if you could grow your house out of like vegetation, trees, and all of that, like vines that are wrapping together. You know, what I mean, it's a hard surface that would be pretty.
Or
efficient.
maybe they just had stuff that would biodegrade quickly. Like, I mean, I think that the fiberglass that we make a lot of modern skyscrapers out of, you think that stuff's going to last 1,000 years?
Well, it'll be dust.
Maybe the styrofoam cups will, but
you know what I mean. It would probably degrade to a dust.
Back to silica dust.
It's another layer of the.
But you see what I mean, like the society that we've built in like modern cities, like that stuff's not lasting. That stuff won't endure all that much. Even concrete only lasts like 100 years and then it's toast.
Yeah, but you can go to India and I mean, there's many places where there's thousands of things that have been there for thousands of years.
Yeah, but they're not made like out of modern material. What I'm saying is modern materials don't last as long as the stuff that.
Oh, that's true. Okay, I understand what you mean. All right. Yeah. Oh, okay, that's a good one. I like that.
Hey,
we will have a layer of plastic trash that will become
be
in the center
styrofoam and shit like that.
Yeah.
That's one of the few things that Michael Shermer, it's one of the few compelling points that he makes about like the whole prior civilization thing. It's like, where's their garbage? And it's like, well, one, garbage is a relative term. That could be anything. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, why don't they have plastics, things like that? But it's like, maybe they weren't stupid enough to make them. I mean, maybe plastic is just not good.
They weren't selling like crisps overseas in like olden times.
Yeah.
So.
The Atlantis Capri Suns. Where are they?
Hey, I don't know what you guys have said about Aleister Crowley, but the one thing that I was thinking that I wanted to kind of add was a little bit of context around Aleister Crowley. Like, I believe he grew up fairly rich, right? He got most of his money from inheritance from his father. So he was kind of in the upper crust, more or less. And then he was hanging out with people in like the Golden Dawn and stuff. These were all kind of like rich kids. And I think they were, it was an interesting time at that place in time. Like when he was young, it was the 19th century, I think. And the British Empire was big and it was growing. And people like, especially privileged kids like him, were taking advantage of newly discovered, I don't want to say knowledge, but information, because I don't know, knowledge kind of connotates that it's true, but it's kind of just more information.
More texts were available to them from various parts of the world.
Right. Well, not only was science kind of growing and there was scientists trying to make discoveries, but also there was explorers. The British they just taken over India and all this. So they just discovering all this. Right. So European society, but specifically Western European and colonial places, they were kind of experiencing an explosion of information. And I think it's interesting because it relates back to, us and what we're doing right now and why we're interested in things and know the things that we do is because we are benefiting from the complex information networks available to us nowadays. And I don't think it's all that different from the spiritualists and different groups, proto-New Age groups like Theosophic Society. I think these were all basically the same, except, these information networks, they've obviously gotten way more complex and they've also kind of trickled down and kind of democratized a lot more, because before it was, you had to be kind of privileged to have access to this stuff. But so that's kind of some of the context. And along with that, it was really in vogue at the time, in the peak of the British Empire, like the 19th century, they were kind of obsessed with ancient Egyptian society. And a lot of them kind of thought of themselves as somehow descended, even though they didn't really know much about it. And I just think it's interesting because all that was so new, and you can see how it inspired their imaginations. I mean, the first Egyptologist, they say, was like Napoleon Bonaparte when he stormed down there, and he took anthropologists with him to study it for like the first time. And so, and and things like Samaria, this is relatively new on the scene, so it makes sense that we are the way we are. Like, we're all kind of geeky, and we're kind of open-minded, and we're kind of analyzing so much information. It's crazy. And I see a kindred with spirit with us and people like Crowley and theosophists of the past. So I don't know what you think about all that.
I feel like a lot of the I don't know like how long conspiracy theories have been like properly a thing for, at least like well known in the public mainstream, but I feel like a lot of that, it's conspiracy theories are like, I know about them at least for two reasons, and I feel like the people who make them for these two reasons are there's a lot of new access to weed and psychedelics, and then there's this big thing called the thing we're on now, the internet.
Can I ask you something though, just to define, do you think that conspiracy theorists, because I would think of more political intrigue, do you think that is like esoterica and occultism? Do you think that is the same, or?
I don't know. It's just I feel like a lot of it comes under the same bubble of thought, but
like speculative
stuff where usually the people who think of this stuff generally have a lot of time on their hands. And that's generally where conspiracy theories, at least from what I've heard from people in real life, they generally have that time.
Or just rumors and gossip. I think it's normal for people to gossip, and sometimes that evolves.
The internet is the ultimate gossip. You'll eventually start seeing certain symbols.
It's a high form of gossip.
I suppose so. It's just I have this guy that I know. Like, I don't get weed from him, but like I know he's a weed dealer, and like whenever I see him, he's constantly going on about like some conspiracy theory, and generally at the moment it seems to be whatever's like the hip thing to like rag on Corona about. Like he'll talk about the Great Reset.
That's pretty normal. I think that's pretty normal, man. I mean, your friend, I think there's more and more people like that. And
no, I know. I'm not saying it's not normal.
He's the new normal. Like a stoner conspiracy theorist is the new normal.
That's what, exactly. But that's what I mean. It's just I don't think it's normal because of like nature or anything. It's like normal because of like the habitat of internet and like the fact that you can just get these drugs like just easily.
Right.
Like
there's a process of normalization that goes into a lot of this. There's sort of discourses that are adopted.
Epstein
go ahead.
Is a big thing. The Epstein, that just the event of Jeff Epstein being arrested and then dying in prison.
Well,
in front of everyone, very publicly type thing. Everyone knowing who he is to a degree and understanding what he did to a degree, and basically no one believing the official story of what happened there is an example of that kind of thing becoming extremely it was like it became mainstream even before that with the whole like sort of rise of Donald Trump and Pizzagate happening, and all of a sudden a whole bunch of people being like, what is this?
Well, Remus, don't you think that kind of flows from the internet and the fact that more and more people are immersed in
it's the reason. It's the reason, yeah.
Exactly.
It's
so that's
the highway. Yeah.
Like the point I was trying to making earlier is that, in that the internet kind of represents the newest, latest, and greatest form of the complexing information networks in society, but this is not really new, and it had kind of proto variants in film, television, broadcast radio, and then before that in literacy, not just in books and novels, but in newspapers and magazines, things that were really disposable and like timely. So but it's just that there's more as time goes on. There's just more and more access for more and more people.
Yes, absolutely.
And so now we're all caught up in this wave.
And a rising confidence that they know what's going on.
And there's been an explosion of social discourse, or rather an implosion of different forces that now with the internet, with hypermodernity or liquid modernity, it seems that a lot of these things are inevitable. And even to me, I would, I said this almost 2 years ago on Justin Murphy's podcast about the internet itself is almost like a metaphysical occultic or occult producing vector, or what would Deleuze call an abstract machine in itself. It seems that a lot of things that arise from the internet almost take on a sort of occultic comportment, the way that they behave. And I don't know. I'm just sorry. My mind is
It's all
still in
right.
the clouds. So Georgina unfollowed me now. So that's
No.
Oh,
No.
no,
Your children will
no.
never be.
Oh no!
You know what you were saying, Gio? It was reminding a bit of what's that fucking book called? It's Amusing Ourselves to Death, I think.
Yeah,
it was reminding
by
me of like
Postman, yes.
television. It's like what the internet's like fucking. I want to see an internet version of that book. So I feel like the person who can like say the stuff that needs to be said on the internet and its message like correctly and coherently. I'd be really interested to read
here
that.
was her last comment, and I know I'm going back to this shit, but whatever.
No,
she says,
no,
I'm
we're
gonna
refusing.
talk
We're
about Bane
refusing.
posting.
She says the
I'm gonna
guests.
talk about Bane posting after
The
this.
guests were fine. I think more than fine. I think you guys are great. But anyway, it was the stream chat, and I do think the topics went a little south and not related to what I was asked to talk about. But as a channel, you are responsible for how your guests are treated. Your chat reflects your community. I think.
Whoa!
Okay.
Yo, by association.
Stop this! I'm telling you guys, the chat does not. The chat's had enough. I've read some of the chat. The chat has had enough of this Georgina stuff.
Yeah,
You're
fuck
sticking
yes.
to aliens.
Yeah. When you unfollow me, you are dead to me. Don't worry, unless you follow me back. When you unfollow me, you are fucking dead.
Because I could talk about this forever, but it's not that. It's very popcorn. It's drama. We need to talk about weird
exactly. It's just drama. It's not. Yeah.
Okay,
We are not internet blood.
Speaking of drama, people were asking when Kantbot's gonna come on.
No, not the.
Oh my god.
Not the fucking Kantbot.
Wait, what's the thing with Kantbot? Like, what's wrong with Kantbot? I don't
that's
really
a
like
whole
followers.
Don't get you
scared of me.
Don't worry about
That's
it.
the whole story.
Okay.
Let's not.
All
Let's
right.
not.
If Campbot comes on, I'll make a promise. If Campbot comes on BTR, all will be forgiven. So don't worry about it.
Okay. If Kantbot
okay.
comes on, I'll make sure I'll paint myself or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
I could listen to Georgina talk for hours and stare into her mystical.
You guys remember the like? You guys remember Bane posting? You remember when Bane posting started to like? People were finding Bane posting in real life, like
that's still a thing, man. That's still a thing.
The plane crash, all of that, right? So that was like I remember that was like a weird shift of consciousness for a great deal of people who realized like, wait a second, like, are we doing that, right? And that thought, I guess, is like the schizo break that you need in order to like become like people who are doing something metaphysical rather than just like fucking around, right? Like with intention, you know. So all of a sudden, people realized that there was a power in mimetics, right? There was a power in sort of like words and ideas and trying to implant them in others, and then weird shit like that happens, right? In this thing that we live in. But I remember specifically like that moment where there was a change even on just the image boards, right, where people started like dubs became a different thing, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. I think there's more connection.
Dude, 4chan is a CIA op. Sorry, bro.
No, I'm aware, right? There's always that aspect, but you know, random number generator type shit can be affected by the mind, you know, and there's that's observed.
But I don't know though. I mean, is it more a phenomenon of synchronicity or meaning building?
It depends on how you define that. It depends on how you define that, you know.
What's meaningful to you personally? Like, in other words, how do people build meaning? What they just see things, and how is something meaningful? In what way? What determines that? You know, like that's as interesting a question.
Here, right? This is the sort of stream about Crowley, but as a tangential, it's about magic, right? It's like what is that? How does that work? Right? What's happening there?
I spend a lot of time like meditating on that one, and I've come to not a conclusion, but maybe like a current state of working state. Well, I mean, mainly I was thinking about how do like our ancestors perceive gods, and I can't help but think that that's really related. That gods kind of describe nature and the workings of nature, and magic also describe that, or part of that relationship. And I think it's also related to linguistics, because like I said, I mean, how do we perceive things? How are they meaningful to us? And so I think that's all those are all related: cymetics, language, the gods, and magic. That might not make sense. Maybe that didn't make sense. Sorry.
I was following you. I understand what you're saying. I'm sympathetic with that idea. I'd be more curious to hear what people who are actually practicing, quote unquote magic, actually have to say about this, because they're actually doing something, at least according to them. Like, whatever it is that they're I guess you could call it's almost like acting, right? Like there's ceremony involved.
Or they're self-deluding. They're deluding themselves.
Yeah. So Remus,
maybe.
my sort of understanding, or rather what I've seen both on this stream and in listening to lots of different podcasts on esoterica, is you'll have certain occultists who simply say that what they are doing is in the mind. There's like a sort of a real delineated split between people who say it is simply a mental thing, and that is ultimately not quote unquote real insofar as you're contacting discarnate entities. Then there are those who are like, no, we are actually engaging with gods and demons and what have you, sort of like our primal ancestors might have considered. I myself find it often fairly disheartening and, quite frankly, Reddit when someone who has dedicated their life to occultism says like, oh yeah, it's just sort of something that's in my head. Now, they do of course claim that the results are there, so that is something that has to be sort of tangled with. And Georgina did mention that earlier on, wherein you can create this mental framework and it kind of hyperstitions the results that you're looking for. And that's a sort of a chaos magic approach. Black Pope Vice himself, of course, would probably be more eloquent in that regard. So there is a definite split there. And I'd love to hear more about why that is the case.
But I
find that fascinating, right? Go ahead, Joe.
No, I was just going to say as techno, as you said, it seems that unfortunately a lot, I'm sorry, this chat is really wild. It seems that a lot of modern occultism, a lot of it is basically atheistic LARPing, or rather experimenting with the self in a way that takes on the garb of previous generations of mystery schools. And it's very hard to separate the true 100% thing from this sort of, I would say, this like frustrated, incontinent, unconscious thing. It's like, the hungry ghosts have possessed these people. And I don't know.
Stones.
Oh, look at the stones.
Yes.
It's like I'm like a little child when you like shake some keys. Oh, keys.
But it's very
minerals.
No, but it is fascinating to see how I have my pyramid somewhere. I don't have stones, but
stones.
Yeah, I have a bunch of stuff upstairs.
It is fascinating to see the development of how occultism manifests itself within modernity, and why, we talked about this on the show before about the Fae and the baby witches, and how it seems that the Zoomers are appropriating occultism for secular political ends. Like, I don't know, hexing Donald Trump.
I'm gonna put a hex on.
I hate. What's the fucking point? It's like,
but this is my contention. I think with Georgina was that occultism always has a form of political comportment. It always has an expression within the political, and it's not crazy to say that there is a level of occult politics out there that is still present within our episteme, our epoch today. My God, Lev, do you have a whole collection of stones?
I do have a whole collection of stones. And by the way,
crystals?
Yes, and by the way, this is going to be the opportunity for me to ask everybody to subscribe right now to BTR.
Yeah, subscribe.
We need
subscribe.
to grow. We are the stream that brings
I have a
everybody
black onyx
together.
ring, by the way.
Nice.
So I should have my ring. I should get it again.
Classic.
Before there was nature, there was Geo.
It's true.
Isn't there like a Pokemon that's like a Geo something, like Geodude?
Geodude. There you go. Yeah.
Geodude.
Yes,
Okay.
I have a Geodude too. In fact, let me show you the Geodude that I have. I'm gonna bring him out. But before that, I want to ask everybody to subscribe. This is a stream where we bring people together. I think the most toxic thing in the world is saying you are not allowed to talk with so and so, guilt by association. I think that is bullshit. I am proud of the people who are here in the Zoom call. I am proud of the people who are here in the chat. I know that many of you are very risque, very spicy, but this is the ocean. This is the ocean of the internet. This is not a pool. This is not a hug box.
As a friend of mine has made me acutely aware, Matthew the Stout, do these occultists that are calling us evil racist Nazis, do they not realize that Crowley did a bit of raping of prostitutes back in the day, and he had literal orgy sex magic where he like literally inflicted sexual violence upon different women? Are you not aware of that?
Magic.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
No,
I'm just saying.
It's for my magical practice. How dare you?
Yeah, it's for magic.
I was trying to embody the energy of whatever the fuck. Like, fuck you, you fucking prick.
I think that it's
gonna
funny
do a quick magic rape.
It's funny how a lot of like this, I would say, white girl occultism, that is sort of like ingratiated itself into like woke culture. It's really interesting to me
because it invites you to be a hedonist.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
like here's the thing: I don't want to boil down like every occultist or every occult practice into just merely a pursuit of hedonism. It's just that the popular
saying that.
No, I know you're not. No. It's just that the popularization.
Like that.
Yeah,
it's not even necessarily his system. It's just like him.
Yeah.
He's such a his example is be a fucking like disaster of a person. Like destroy all your relationships, do fucked up shit to people, but like be cool about it. So like everyone still thinks you're cool and like mysterious and scary and dangerous and like ridiculous. But it's like this man was just kind of like, he just seems like he was just a really bad example of a human being. And as a result, the people that follow even his magical system, even like, I don't know why, they just end up being cringe. Everybody that I know that I've encountered that's a Thalemite is just like, she was not cringe until that. I don't know, and so it just changed.
I don't know. I feel like with I feel like this whole like occultism stuff, generally the Satanism stuff, I feel like there's a very simple thing that it's based in negativity. It's based in like wanting something in exchange, like a sacrifice, a negative sacrifice. Like you want something bad to happen. Because the negative stuff,
not necessarily. You want something good to happen to yourself, but you're willing to do something bad to another as a result.
It's not even that as well. It's like they want to, rather than like redeeming a political figure or rising them up, they want to hex them instead. They don't want to make them better or like change their ways, like fit their view or something like in a positive
because it's
way.
dark.
They want to deem them,
magic, right?
Yeah,
it's dark magic by its nature.
Well, as it's funny you mention this because Josh Sarabelli in the chat has a very interesting question. Can you read it, Lev? I have to go back to the
Josh Sarabelli. Okay, let me scroll up here.
Where he says, here we go. Yes, but it is also to fill an empty space that religiosity has failed to fill too, Gio. You know what, Josh Sarabelli? Fuck you, you're banned. Get out of the No, I'm kidding. You're a good dude. I love you, bud. No, that's a very good question. I agree 100% with that assertion. It is to fill, in my opinion, I do feel that we are beyond the sort of new atheist, new secularist age, and we are entering, and hope, too bad Modern Hermeticists had to go. Maybe, the fucking drama. But anyways, friend of the show, we talked about this a few times. We are sort of exiting this period of intense secularism, and we are entering a sort of a revivalism, the way that, in the 19th century, in the Victorian age, there was a neoclassicist revival. And in the 20th century, at the height of post-World War I decadence with the flappers and prohibition, there was, again, another Hellenistic revival, and a lot of modern art movements correlated with this. We are entering a sort of post-secular revivalism of occult, New Age stuff, but it's very in a degraded, secularized, and even hyper-political form. So I would say that a lot of Zoomers and millennials, they're rediscovering a lot of this because traditional religions have, by and large, I wouldn't say failed in the West, but they certainly have failed to capture and become once again at the heart in the zeitgeist of our civilization. Certainly Christianity, I would say, has a hope of reviving itself, but in my opinion, a lot of apostolic Christianity has unfortunately ceased to become at the center zeitgeist of our civilization and our consciousness within modernity. That's just an obvious fact. And so from that, you would say that they are trying to recapitulate the sense of the sacred in very, I would say, sort of misguided ways, but that's just my opinion, as you know.
Well, I don't even know what exactly they see when it comes to a lot of these rituals, because what I would expect is if somebody has become a devoted Thelemite or whatever other branch they want to go into, that they would have an experience where there would be an actual daimonic entity in front of them that they would communicate with that would defy all aspects of, all scientific knowledge that we know, that this would be something that would be occurring on the regular, but I just don't know. I've never experienced it, so I'm not really sure.
The only person that I know that does this shit, literally, okay, I know a girl that does goetic magic, okay, and her thing is she wants to be legit, okay, not a joke. So, and you may think there's a million ways to say like this is, you're sort of putting credence in things after the fact, but I don't think so. I'd never met this girl, but I knew that she practiced goetic magic. She was a friend of my friend, right? When I first met her, I didn't know that she was the girl, right? But I for some reason, she was not my type at all, okay? But I found her attractive, and I was like, okay, this is weird.
She's your type then?
No. She's not. She's distinctly not, in fact.
What do you mean? What do you mean? If you find someone attractive, surely that means they're like your type. I don't get you. Sorry.
No. You can find somebody attractive and they aren't necessarily your type. Like your type is a specific. Like
I think the type thing sounds
attracted to people.
Sorry, carry on with your story. The whole type thing's another thing we could get into. Carry on.
But whatever. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. But either way, I found her weird. Like it was like kind of like, okay, like this is strange because I wouldn't usually find somebody who looks like you attractive. It wasn't really powerful, but it was there. And
please don't tell me you told her that.
No, I didn't tell her this. Later, talking to my friend, he was like, oh, she, according to herself, works with succubi. Like that's her thing. She likes to work with things that make her more attractive to people because she wants that to be her edge in social situations. And I was like, well, that's creepy. I don't really like that. I'm gonna not avoid this person from now on. But that's the only person that, and to her, she's not speaking, it's not just happening in her head. She's speaking to something that's responding to her. You know what I mean? It's a conversation. It's not a suggestive themes and symbols in my mind. None of that. It's like words.
Okay, but that's still within the head. Like it's not like she has the ability to have this thing manifest in front of her.
Manifest, yeah, no, because I don't think that's how it works. This is just based on. Everybody has a sort of conceptual idea of how this, if it exists, how it must work, right? And to me, I don't think that they can operate in real space unless there's like conditions. Like that seems like they're the type of thing that is they're almost like thought forms. They're thought beings in a way. Like they're personifications of desires and you know what I mean, things like that, right? So
can I add something?
Yeah.
This is on. I meant to say this earlier too, but it's just kind of strange when people try to do the thing where they're like, "Oh, magic! Like, is it real? Like, is it a real thing?" It's just like we have to all understand that all of us have some basis of what we think of as real.
Right.
Yeah.
There's always some assumption there. There is no baseline real. There's just something that we are attached to. And so the question is, can we change that? Well, I think personally for ourselves, we can. We can change the basis of our reality. Sure. But
it's almost as if
can you influence others? Yes, you can influence what others perceive as real too. Mm-hmm. So I think the question of is it real or not is just kind of it's kind of a diversion. It's not like
well, no,
a good way to frame
there are a couple of steps.
It's a
there are a
bad
couple
way
of
to
steps.
phrase.
You can frame it in a few steps. So let's say you have 3 levels. Level number 1, you are the only person who is able to perceive it in your head, and you could have a very realistic,
it's personal.
DMT elf, like your personal DMT elf that you always see in your head. Great. The second level, the higher level, would be you see the elf and your friend sees the elf at the same time. That's the second level where.
But what if you just convince your friend that he sees an elf until he submits?
Okay, so then we could say that under this system,
the difference?
under the system, like if everybody has the ability to type in, like, say a certain mantra and be able to see the same machine elf after saying that mantra, that would be like the second step where we could all kind of agree, okay.
Shared experience.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Same thing with like the astral realm. If you go into a place and your friend goes into that place, or you meet a stranger and you exchange email addresses, that would be an example.
You're in the same Minecraft server.
Exactly.
Can I ask you this,
It's almost as if the real, like, perception itself is almost like the real in some ways.
Sure. But one last thing, and then the last thing would be the final level, one where this being would actually manifest right here in physical reality in front of you, and that can either be as a being made out of light, so somehow light is able to be manipulated in such a way that this pure light machine elf being would be able to reside in our 3-dimensional world made out of microbes and cells and all that. But the other version would be as an avatar, where when you imagine all these different Hindu gods,
Rama, Krishna,
yes, exactly, or even the Tibetan gods, who are like, some of them are really bulky and have like skull necklaces and things like that. Like if you would imagine
straight JoJoing on you,
yes, exactly. If you imagine a god like that existing in the world, like either it would again be like a being made out of light that you would be able to put your hand through or whatever. Maybe it'll burn your hand. I don't know. But anyway, either a being that's made out of light, that's like always moving around, always animated like a machine elf thing, or it would be a being that would be made out of its own like little cells and microbes and wrinkles.
Can I ask a question then, Liv?
Yes.
Okay, when I'm looking at you right now on my computer, but I can't decide whether I'm looking at the object, a computer, or if I'm looking at the light, right? It's like when I see you were made of light on that computer, or maybe the computer the image I'm seeing on my computer, this is information, but I'm not sure what is information. I mean, it's not a physical substance. So again, I think that what people oftentimes miss when they talk about these things is how much is so murky and unknown about the mundane things that we take for granted. Like this computer, like, is the computer a molecule thing, or is it the light, or is it information, which I'm not even sure how.
Well, it's all vibration. It's all vibration.
It's
at the
all
end
of
the
those
day.
things.
What about level 0 though, Lev?
But I would say
level 0 on your thing. Have you thought about level 0?
What?
So if you think about, I know this sounds silly, but you think about.
No, it was your accent. We just couldn't understand what you were saying.
Level 0.
Yeah.
Well, no, level 0 is the kind of thing
of
ideas where it almost goes back where the idea is more like powerful than the actual belief, which is kind of like how some of these, I don't know, it's weird things like pop into my head that I don't believe, and it's not like I believe them, but then it's almost like this. I think everyone gets them to some extent. You just get these like things that you don't know where they come from. They come from somewhere.
Thought forms?
Yeah, sort of thought form things, and it's like, this is kind of what I try talking about in my book. Like the whole book's a mess, an intentional mess to kind of like describe these like random pop-in thoughts that this is what level 0 is, I guess, where it's just the human imagination collective. And I could go into that, but it's a very complicated thing.
This is kind of like the Sephiroth in Kabbalah, right? It's like the idea of like it's like a it's like an archetypal form type deal, but it's a thought or like a
no, it's
like
a big like
type.
basically ephemeral realm that doesn't really exist, but it exists. It's very hard to explain.
But it exists more than reality in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
I know
it's
what
basically
you're saying.
the condensation of all possible human thought patterns.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's.
Yeah. Is it like a platonic world of ideal form?
No, it's not an ideal world because everything is condensed within like everything. It's like kind of infinity almost.
Like the field potential, the field of infinite potential.
Yeah, kind of, and that's where I feel like a lot of original like thought comes from. Like I don't
like a Akashic record, Jade tablet type thing. It's an infinite
a lot
book
of
that
this
has
stuff
all
I
the
don't know the
knowledge in
reference. It kind of came to me.
Well, here's an example. Here's an example of something like that. So I do meditation, and I mean this is a story that's as old as time for the regular people who listen to it. But anyway, I do meditation. I do the breathing technique. I see a light in the center, and that light can generate other simple shapes. It can generate a triangle, 5-pointed star, like a DNA helix, and there are structures that it ends up creating with other lights that I can then rotate and shift around. Anyway, that would be more of an example of like a vibration, like an idea coming into fruition in a very perfect shape in the mind's eye, and it's not like the apple that somebody would imagine, like try to imagine what the apple looks like. No, it's actually there. When I close my eyes, it's some electric input, whatever it is, that's being generated, and these images are being generated. But the important thing for me, again, to consider is when it comes to these demons, and I know I keep going back to these demons, but with these demons, if there was this shamanic Tibetan god that ended up coming into this world, I understand what you're saying about, like, is this me? Is this not me? When you're seeing the computer screen, well, you're seeing light and you are seeing, like, reflection of something else, which demons would manifest as reflections of themselves in yantras, in mantras, in all kinds of ways you would call upon these various entities. My whole point is, if we're being very specific about what we're talking about here, would it be possible to have a demon that would come into the world, being born into the world, where, sure, we're all vibration at the end of the day, we're made of the same star stuff, man, but anyway, we are all vibration, and so is the demon, but the demon existing in this world would, beyond the vibration, which would be very small, he would also have, or she or your succubus, whatever, they would have various cells, microbes, little organisms that would be living on them as a product of this human world that we're in. Do you see what I'm getting here? Like,
I don't think that they're physical beings, so it's not the same. They're not going to occupy space on and have microbes and shit on them. Maybe they have psychic microbes. There's like idea microbes.
A question.
You know what I mean? Like the parallels are there.
Well, it's an incorporeal intelligence, but can an incorporeal intelligence become corporeal? Is that possible?
I think it would have to ride. I don't think it can manifest.
To possess and inhabit others?
Yeah, it would have to ride on you. Yeah.
I think maybe
that's why they hollow you out.
I think maybe for basic life forms, maybe you could make the incorporeal corporeal. Because I feel like
demonic possession is definitely a thing.
Shit, right? Like the little orbs that people see and that kind of shit. Maybe that's like the closest to embodiment that low grade creatures have.
Hold on. There's extensive history of demonic possession and other spiritual possessions. So that's
no, I'm not discounting that.
And I think it's another interesting thing too to think about how different the past was and our ancestors were from us and our culture. For most of history, a lot of their information just came from people being possessed by spirits. In the Greek world, they called them sibyls, soothsayers and oracles, other forms of divination. This was really, really, really commonplace in the ancient world. So much so that it's kind of strange how
even now.
We do have horoscopes, but it's kind of a caricature of what it was. I mean, people really believed it before.
He was born in Alexandria, Egypt, right? So I remember we were talking, and I was like, dude,
that's not an ancient city, bro. That's Hellenistic. It's not even ancient. What the hell?
But exactly. One, but two, it's even now, right? He was like, dude, where I come from, literally, it's not some people believe in jinn and some don't. It's just jinn are real. There is no the assumption that there is unseen forces is inherent in society. Literally everyone operates in that capacity. He was like, nobody acted like it wasn't real except for like very specific people, like your like, you know, your Sam Harris atheist guy in Egypt.
Well, see,
but like
I'm
outside
more
of that,
like,
it's like jinn are there. It's a thing.
Well,
just deal with it.
I'm more saying that divination was considered real, which that means
that's
obtaining,
another aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like obtaining knowledge, or I'm sorry, not knowledge. Again, that's the bad word. Information, obtaining information
from
some
dream and things
otherworldly
like
source. Yeah, so to divine information, and again, it's like, okay, well, you can definitely do that. Like you can pull information from nowhere, like this other gentleman was saying about his thought forms. Right.
Yeah.
So that's not in this, but I think when you talk about an entity being real, well, that there's all kinds of questions that evokes, like the nature of this entity. And I think that's kind of, there might be some cultural idea of that, but it's like, I don't know. It doesn't seem as it's too ambiguous. You know what I mean? Like just to say pulling information
because because I think it's almost because I think it's a Disney-fied problem. One, like Disney and like cartoons and folklore and fairy tales and all of that have kind of like softened the edges of all of these things massively and made them.
Well, no, because folklores are always ambiguous. It's always ambiguous because it's not like there's a difference between writing something in a book and it's like, okay, this is it. This is the information about it. Well, you know, all this folk knowledge just comes from like, you know, gossip and people talking and people exchanging stories through generations. So it's a lot more murky and ambiguous. It's tied in with oral cultures. So it's like information that's flexible and changes throughout time. That's actually the comparison I'd like to make, comparing to our modern day idea of information as like knowledge, as something so solid and objective and
that's true. Yeah. Okay. Well, I understand what you're saying, but I
think that's the roadblock that modern people have to try to think about the mystic and these other and the metaphysical.
Yeah, there's no gospel.
We think of things as very concrete, but it's like
where's the encyclopedia?
We have to dispense with that mindset, right?
Yeah,
like
I think I can get hold on. I think I can kind of gather
the definition.
What people's like mindsets are here on this kind of thing. Like with just a simple, what do you guys think about the whole like river? If you step in the same river, you can't step in the same river twice thing. I want to hear what you two think because I feel like you guys will like clear up some of your other thoughts on this whole weird Taoism stuff.
I don't give a shit. I'll walk in the river twice.
Yeah. I would say that that's absolutely true. I mean, everything is in a state of flux, right? I mean, because what is true today might not be true tomorrow. And maybe it wasn't true yesterday. So it's like the nature of truth changes because this is a totally dynamic and world in constant flux. And that's the challenge of it, really. And that's why knowledge, like as an object, like trying to make things an object of knowledge, it just doesn't work because this world is not, it's not solid like that. It's only like an illusion that it is. So yeah, so you have to, I think that's the trick there. Sorry, but maybe that wasn't very coherent. I apologize.
No, I understand you.
I would personally disagree.
No, I understand what you're saying, man.
I would personally disagree with this Cartesian idea of the spiritual aspects being completely separate from the physical. I think that there is something very, you know, even if it's a lower vibration or whatever you want to say, I still think that there is something very special about the forms that we're inhabiting right now. And I actually wouldn't be surprised if there were other worlds out there where even like, why would you even have a god that's made out of, you know, having these skull necklaces? What, the skull necklaces are all going to be made out of geometric forms, you know, like made out of light, geometric? Like, I don't think so. I think that they may actually be actual skull necklaces that would have their own little bacteria on them. I don't know. That's just me. I know other people have different ways of seeing it, but I'm just leaning on more on this physical form that we're so used to being way more interesting than you know, people may think.
Right. You know, I think the ultimate enemy of this conversations and metaphysics and whatnot is our ideas of what's mundane and normalcy bias, that blinds us from.
Info Warlock, here's an interesting question. I think the chat wants to know what your definition of truth is.
Right. Well, it's the I think the truth is, it's like it's not a thing. It's not a place to arrive at. It's a way to exist. It's a path to tread. And I think that, it's not really accessible through reason or knowledge and these types of, and language. I do believe that humans have a capacity that I would call wisdom, which is some capacity to apprehend truth, which is so important because, like I said, it's changing all the time. There's no specific protocol for it. So you have to have wisdom in order to ascertain from circumstance to circumstance what is the truth of the situation. I don't know if that's coherent. I'm sure that I could try to rephrase it endlessly, but I hope that is sufficient.
Guys, I'm getting off. It's 2 in the night here.
Holy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks
man.
for having me.
You are certainly a trooper for staying here all this time, and
especially after all that Georgina bullshit.
Yeah. I had to stick.
By the way, speaking of that bullshit, somebody over here they quoted me. Where I said our chat reflects the ocean of the internet and all its chaotic self. It is not a hug box by any means, but it gives everyone an opportunity to have an actual impact on people who would disagree with them instead of preaching to the choir. This has happened a lot and is a magical
thing.
Love,
that's too nuanced of a take. You have
hold
to
on,
realize
hold on. So the person who quoted that said, if your chat does not reflect your community, the least you could do is come out with a statement totally denouncing such degenerate behavior. Oh, there's that word again, rather than making excuses for it. This is what I'm going to send her right now. I push back on
pee poo poo. That's why you have to don't try and give an arm. Just say pee poo poo poo.
No, I'm not going to do that.
I'll do it for you. Send me the tweet. I'll do it for you. It's fine.
You could do it separately. You'll see where it is. But here's what I'm going to write. I push back on things I personally disagree with, such as anti-Semitism, and always make sure panelists are respectful to the guests. You guys all know that. People are free to speak their mind in the chat, so long as it's not illegal. I am not sorry and will budge for no one from this stance.
Listen, I will say, to clear things up,
Based Lev,
I denounce the chat. I denounce you. Wink, wink. I denounce you. I disavow. Disavow. So, anyways, I wanted to say something. I disavow you guys. You're terrible. You're evil Nazis. I hate you all. So I wanted to let's just move on. This is just we're dealing with a bunch of magic.
I didn't even want to talk about it. I just said bullshit in like an offhand thing. Why do I keep mentioning by accident? We keep getting sucked in the black hole of drama. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what they want though. That's the whole point of why
they feed off that energy. They feed off drama.
We need more prayer.
And the problem is that it's not like 2016 where
No. We got to like cut the bullshit out. We got to cut this.
I wanted to say something. I wanted when I was taking let's call it a rain check. I was listening to what Ewan said. I think this undifferentiated plane of thought, to me, what you're describing, it sounds very much. I know this is like total theory cell bullshit, but it sounds like Deleuze's plane of immanence, or rather when he talks about virtuality itself in thought, how the virtual is just as much real as the actual, but it's that the virtual unfolds into the actual through a series of transformations. But that virtuality, whether it be thought or intention or he talks about like becomings, like he was very influenced by Castaneda in one chapter of 1,000 Plateaus. He talks about like animal becomings, not necessarily that you become like an anthropomorphic, like fucking furry animal, but rather it's more of you adopt a certain possibility of behaving within a framework of the animal. So like he says, he had this dream once where it's like one of several wolves, meaning that there's one of several potentialities within.
There are two wolves inside you.
Yeah, there are two wolves inside you. but it's more of like what Ewan is trying to say is, to me, it strikes similar to the plane of immanence, where it's a flat plane of connections that can cross over into each other, and then the virtual can become the actual through a change in that plane of consistency.
It's a little different. It's a little different than that.
Yeah.
I don't know, because the one thing, I haven't read Deleuze, haven't read a lot of these philosophers. I don't know. I find philosophy not that useful because I try living my life. I just like shouting bullshit. I know
it is a life
spoken like a true philosopher. Wow,
it is a life waster. I know from experience. Put it that way. Having been to grad school, it's a life waste. So Deleuze says becoming muse. Let's say. Let me pick out something. So there are always apparatuses, tools, engines involved. There are always artifices and constraints used in nature taking nature to the fullest. This is because it is necessary to annul the organs, to shut them away so that their liberated elements can enter into new relations from which the becoming animal and the circulation of affects within the machinic assemblage will result. So he's saying that there's what he calls a machinic assemblage is basically like every aspect of being is like almost like a system of machines, abstract machines that come together and channel various like flows of like ideas and things and energies and affects. And so when you enter into this sort of like free plane of immanence, rhizomatic relations, different like relations can come about and different thoughts can arise and actually pop into actuality through the different convergings of like different realities, whether it's becoming animal or becoming minoritarian or something. Like it's hard to explain. I mean,
I can try and explain what I was trying to get out before.
Yeah, go
and
ahead.
It's like, I just stick my foot in some pasta. Whoops. Anyway, I just got distracted by sticking my foot in my own pasta.
Pasta?
Yeah, pasta. I have pasta on the floor.
You ever step in the pasta?
Why would you
same
put pasta
twice?
No, I put the bowl of pasta on the floor. Anyway, I got myself distracted.
Is it the same bowl of pasta?
Well, I guess we can talk about distraction as well after this. But
very quickly, guys, I have to make my way, but I just want to say thank you for having me again.
Thank you. We'll wrap it up soon.
Cheers,
I
just want to do some shout outs really quickly. Shout out to Imam Evie. Shout out to Lev. Shout out to Gio. Shout out to Layli, the Estonian warrior. Shout out to Velocimeme. I love all the work that everyone's doing. Thank you for following, and I'll see you on the TL.
See you soon. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for coming again.
I want to see if Sophia, aka Recursion Rosary, can come here, as well as Hotep Sophia. So right now, she's still in the meeting. I mean, I think we may have to cut it short.
We may have to wrap it up.
Yeah. Because I really wanted them to be in here, but there's no word from them yet. How about when we have another free-for-all Friday? I would love for Recursion Rosary and Hotep Sophia to both come in. No, it's Recursion Rosary. That's
recursion.
Recursion, yes.
Recursion.
So what does that mean? I gotta ask her that too. I don't know what Recursion Rosary
and
means.
is this the e-girl stream? Or
No. She is not. She is not an e-girl.
Sorry, I missed part of that because I was spaghetti selling.
No. Sophia.
Why is it all okay? Let's see. Let's go down the list. Let's see. Recursion Rosary, Jugs, Hotep Sophia, who happens to be a black woman. Let's see. Athena, who happens to be an Iranian woman. Who else? We had a fucking staffer, a Washington staffer on
for Pete
who
Buttigieg.
originally got mogged, but then she became initiated into the cult of Break the Rules. We've had a clinical psychologist on. We've had she wrote the book Introduction to the Future. We've had so many women on,
and by the way, she's part of Pete Buttigieg's staff. Jessica.
Yeah, we've had so many different.
Every time you say the word Jessica, I laugh.
We've had Lev, your friend, who's been on the show from the beginning. Jill. Wait. Oh fuck.
Yeah, Jillian. Yeah.
Jillian, I'm sorry, my brain is fogged right now.
So you have to have all these people on the stream so you can interrogate them about the nature of reality.
Exactly. That's what we do.
That's the most important work to be done. Yes.
That's what we do.
Yeah,
all
Byzantine
the time.
Archon. I'm sorry, but it's just I don't know. I have to let it go. Don't worry. By the time Thursday rolls around, it will be gone, and I'm really looking forward to the Eli Schiff discussion. discuss a potential book that we might be working on. So we'll see.
No, stop calling me. I'm getting owned in the chat. People are calling me stupid Anglo children. They're saying I need to mute. I am an alpha. Well, I don't know.
No Anglos allowed.
I'm above alpha. That's how I am.
You know what, myself? Thank God for those. Thank God for those people. You know why? Because all you people in the chat right now, I want to say it straight up. You are not NPCs. Going into Twitter right now and reading a lot of these comments, reading a lot of these tired, worn out 2016 regurgitations of all of this newspeak.
That shit's passe.
It gets so tiring.
Boring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So all you people, you're NPCs, you are below the quality of this stream. The people in the chat, while I don't agree with many of the things that you have to say, and I don't like anti-Semitism at all, I think it is disgusting. At the same time, I think that you are searching for the truth, and this is a stream where we try to get at the truth.
Dude literally stepped in past it. It's not over for me. It's not over.
Lev, can I tell you that you posting the Sneed edit of that inflation holla was probably the funniest thing that I've ever seen on this stream. Holy shit, I was dying.
Shit, that's something
else. I was dying.
There's no words for that.
It's not the pasta. Hold on, we need to get this straight.
All you can say is Sneed.
We need to get this straight here, by the way. I was not eating pasta from the floor. I was not eating. It was in a bowl on the floor. I'm not eating pasta raw off the carpet.
Floor pasta. That's how you described it.
No, it was pasta on the floor. It was in a bowl on the floor.
Look, there is a person who's part of the name is Fat Feminist Witch is replying to the never.
Oh, okay.
Never mind. Happening. No, it's happening. So it's let me see if I can post this.
We're gonna get hacked, dude. Watch out.
I have the power of God and anime on my side, so don't worry about it.
I stepped in again. Fuck's sake.
You have to film this. You need to get.
I know.
I'm beginning to think that you have a bit of a fetish here.
Oh my fucking god! Here we no. All right.
You're the one who keeps stepping in the pasta, man. We're not. Nobody's making that happen.
Well,
wait, he's spilling his spaghetti.
Collective making me do it. Let's say that.
You mean that?
Oh, there's a blue check that's calling for our shunning.
What? Where?
We're talking about stepping in pasta here. Come on, guys.
Can you post it? Can you post it, Remus?
His name is Howard Rheingold.
Howard Rheingold. Wow.
Shun.
Okay, but
shun. That's
Your people are turning on you.
I have a bit on my foot.
Your people are turning on you.
Where is this tweet? Where can I see this?
No solidarity.
No, and I fucking hate the idea of even saying like your people. This person is not my.
I know, I'm joking.
Yeah, I understand. But for all those, who aren't aware, the Jews who are not fucking rabid SJW leftist NPC people, they have nothing. They have nothing to do with me, and they have nothing to do with other Jews who are not like them. And I hate the idea of putting them into the same category. So all you fucking NPC people who are, I'm sorry, but you are the lower class of society in the spiritual way, you have nothing to do with me or the rest of the Jews that are tired of your bullshit.
Spiritual untouchables.
By the way, I want to explain myself a bit, because I think explaining it will partly make it funnier, because I feel like I need to justify.
Gio, I DM'd you.
Oh my god, is there pasta come out of the bowl?
Oh, I've seen. Okay, yeah. So this guy is clearly a boomer of. Look at this.
Yeah.
This is. He's got like he's creating some kind of weed apparatus. It's just this is. This is peak like I don't know. This something about liberal boomers just really just makes me cringe. I don't know. Something about it just like what happened? Like. Are you trying to assuage your guilt or something? I don't know.
I feel like if Jules was here, she wouldn't have done anything.
Yeah,
I just have a feeling.
Dude, if I was here earlier, this would have never happened either. Okay, so I'm sorry. So
can I please clear the air on the pasta thing? It's gonna kill me if I don't. It'll make it funny.
No, you're a
No, I'm explaining it. No, my voice is coming through. Like I'm speaking over you. This is whatever you call kill stream, whatever. So I leave plates on my floor when I go to eat food. Sometimes I didn't finish the pasta because I had a second portion, and I had it on a bowl to my right where I was sitting. I shouldn't have had it there. I have it on the left, or I never step in it. I've stepped in something else on the right before. So I stepped in and doing something.
You know, no, he
I don't know my
blended his
camera.
He
Blended
can't.
it. I mean, that sounds like an excuse, but that's what happened.
He
And,
literally
like,
did it on stream.
I'm locked out of my laptop because I don't remember the password, so I can't record
Honestly,
on that
you
either.
Brits confound me. I'll
It's
never
me.
understand.
I'm making.
I'll just
Yeah,
never
you're-
understand.
I am the
floor
alpha
pasta.
Brit because I'm
you
making my
people
own
used
mistakes
to
and owning
Britannia used to rule the waves, and now
them. I
look,
don't pretend I'm smart.
like
I just
stepping
like
in
saying fun
pasta.
ideas.
I don't get it, man.
I like saying
I don't
fun
get it.
ideas. All right. Let's
The decline of see, this is what
He's
what it looks
literally
like to
spilling his
degenerate.
spaghetti.
I
on
don't
stream.
eat.
No,
I don't
no,
Literally
eat
spilling
the
spaghetti.
food off
He's
the floor. I
also
put it down
stepping
there when
in.
I'm finished with it.
I
Because then
suspect
go
this
through into the
pasta is
kitchen.
like SpaghettiOs or something out of
Yeah,
a
I
can.
feel like the spaghetti is coming out of your pocket.
No, I don't keep it there. I like keep it there for like a
Do you
bit
have
and then
any
I take it
furniture,
through.
or do you
I
just
don't
lay
have
on the
any-
ground all the
I have
time?
a bed.
I don't know.
My desk is full of random like crap. It's got like the face mask. I know face
Dude,
nappies
this
and
is
then
the
like
most
socks.
Crowley part of the Crowley.
There's like
stream.
socks on my
Describing your
desk.
I'm
floor
imagining
Other
you just
thing- I
has a
don't have
computer
enough
and
space to
pasta
put a
on.
full plate, and I've got my bed, and I don't want to get food on my bed because I
Where
will
do you
spill the
live?
food on the bed.
Oh,
Where do you live?
to the floor.
I
where
will,
you can
I
step
will
on it.
spill the food on the bed if I leave it on the bed. So I'm like
Do you-
putting it on the floor.
Are you from
What are
London
you
or
doing?
something?
Well, I'm telling you, you can see my room in one of the other videos. It's like a small. It's just. I don't put my sheet on the desk and the pasta on the
This man has no tables.
No, my
Hey,
tables are through another room. I
You
don't
have
have
to
a
dox
table in
yourself
here.
now.
Look, we have.
No, I've already
my
posted the
God.
photo
Another
before.
sim.
Floor-
I was wearing socks, and then I
space is
wasn't, and then I
windy.
stepped in the pasta again.
Huh,
I'm
so
not
you wrote a
keeping
book.
plate on my
Very
lap
interesting.
for ages. I'm not eating, so I'm putting it on the floor.
That's
I think this is.
fascinating.
Oh my god, I've got pasta like dredged into the floor. and I've been
Brit
stepping in
bombs
it.
eat. That's
Oh, this is
amazing.
gross. I'm gonna
Damn.
have to
Break the
clean
rules
this later.
chat is currently mogging you. Really hard.
I
The
know, but
self
it's
Look at
fine.
this one. Look at this one.
I had socks at the beginning, and then I've stepped in it
A
with
man
and without
referring
socks
to
by
himself as a
accident.
witch.
Watching me discuss the incident with whataboutism, the generic off-white man dodging tactics seems surprisingly small-minded for folks arguing about whether or not the modern magicians should wear these. What the fuck? Oh, white man.
I mean,
Geo,
I'm using my
Mr.
white man
Geo.
tactics
Yeah.
to explain the
Mr.
pasta
Geo.
floor situation, and
I
I
know
think it's going pretty
sometimes we
swimmingly.
talk in like abstractions and stuff. So I feel like these drama people, they just can't hang with the serious abstract theory selling.
No,
so
they can't.
That
They
yeah,
have
so they need to
to,
create like
Yeah.
another tangent subject that's really like
Yeah.
drug-brained that they can expound on.
This is
And
very
that's-
drug-brained.
And,
Well,
that- and that's yeah. that's
Like I said
happened.
before, they're a spiritual underclass.
They're literally dusty.
I literally want to
Wow.
reply with like that.
That's
that-
kind of harsh, Leva. I know.
I wonder if I should reply with that gif of The Rock that says "Shut up, bitch." I wonder. No, that would be too.
Like, I can't believe this. This is. I want to make the things with Britain. Everyone goes like the Anglo memes. Why can't we? This is why people think we can't be together because
Because
people
you
like
self-
me are like
because
very
it-
enthusiastic and silly. Get
You're
labeled as
constantly
all of the
owning
Brits.
yourself in public. Is that why?
Yeah.
No, I'm just being
Posting
honest.
your
Man.
L's.
I'm an
on
honest.
the
I'm an
floor.
honest lad. I speak with the heart, and I do silly
You know what
things.
though? Yeah, I like.
You're very
you.
whimsical.
I just-
Yeah, that's.
Exactly.
I don't know why you
Exactly.
putting pasta on it,
Look,
but-
this guy who calls himself a sorcerer is saying that we're X in a nutshell. Wow, that's kind of like, I wonder.
I think this
Really
is more
makes
B
me
than
think.
X.
Really
Like
makes you
we're
think.
stepping on pasta. So
Yeah, we're stepping on pasta here.
Yeah, this is 4chan and 4chan demonization in a nutshell.
Yeah.
is that right there? It's
So-
X. Meanwhile, we're talking about floor pasta being stepped in. That's what's happening here. This
Yeah,
is
we
what
I'm
don't-
the
looking through the
fascists
profiles
do.
of all these people.
Hey, I
And
hate
granted,
like
I hang
pasta,
around
but
with
it's
a
good
lot of
for England.
schizophrenics online, but my God,
Yeah,
these are like fucking next level LARPers. Like this is like fucking. This is crazy, man. This is like. I hate to
it's so
say it,
funny.
but it's just like
Yeah,
it's
this is what I wanted to talk about. Is like what like on this stream with her before she just left. Was like, hey, like, are you guys? What do you think about all the people that seem like really hard, like they're LARPing? Like, what is that? What do you think that is? But now we can't ask her because she's gone, and maybe also she is LARPing. We'll never know.
We're all LARPing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we'll never know now because
Yeah.
we're apparently excommunicated.
Well, here's the
Horus
thing.
now.
It's funny how it's funny, like, I was talking to my buddy Matthew during this whole thing, and he said something quite brilliant. He said, it's funny how these people, they talk about being totally liberated against the norms of society and talking about
Right?
magic and all this shit. Yet they're still within the mindset of the predominant woke neoliberal paradigm. So it's
unreal.
The current order has a way of capturing dissent and just turning it into a trinket and totally neutralizing any sort of esoteric power that they actually have, because they're still conforming to the predominant quote-unquote values of the ruling neoliberal order. So I'm like sure that's a total mindfuck that they can't comprehend.
Well, they're like the teacher's pet. You know, they have this mentality of like, oh, this person must be excommunicated. I'm going to tell everybody else. It's like, what does that have to do with spiritual? What does that have to do with spiritual freedom? That is like the total antithesis of that. Like that is, it's lame. You know what I mean? It's very square. It's very square. I don't know what to tell you.
You would think that people who call themselves warlocks and witches and things like that would be less square.
Flow past the date.
No, I think that's very true. It's like you should be. You're telling me you have thin skin and you're a wizard? Like what? How are those two things? Like, no, but how do you get there? How are you? I'm gaining spiritual enlightenment through my practice, but I literally can't handle somebody calling me gay on a street. It's like in the chat.
No,
in the chat. Like it's
literally
like...
they like the fact that they're conforming to the predominant moralist paradigm of neoliberal modernity that we're experiencing. It really like throws their whole project into just such incredible amounts of sus that it's like, and like all this shit, like you're just like the X-board, like, well, so like, I don't know. It's really, it's kind of fucking, it's funny to me at this point. It's kind of like,
people just like consume their identity these days. I mean, it's a consumer function now.
Yeah.
You know, and it makes me think like, how do you not LARP? Like, can I not be a LARPer?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe because I'm stuck in the same paradigm as everybody else.
Well, it's hard to not LARP in the modern era because
it's a simulacra, because
exactly,
it's because it's the Matrix and nothing's real.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but I guess it's a matter of your ego, what you want to tune it into, because your ego does have the ability to say yes, no.
I know what I want to tune into.
Exactly.
The BTR stream.
Exactly.
Subscribe, motherfucker.
Subscribe right now.
Subscribe.
See, we go through here. We are not stopping. I'm gonna be like a fucking rock with these fucking NPC people. And I'm telling you right now, I am not budging. I am not apologizing. I love all you people. I know we all have things that we gotta learn. I don't agree with a lot of things that you have to say, but I will, like that guy said, defend. You know, you get the idea. The point is that
like Indra, we stare.
Exactly. And this is how we grow stronger. This is how we get more powerful, because all the tattletales, all the teachers' pets, all the NPCs, all they are receptacles for propaganda, advertising, information that they swallow into their little gullets and they barf out and just do what do you call it, snowballing, you know, back and forth with each other. And at the end of the day, nothing good happens. It's all trash. It all just gets regurgitated, and it's weak and it breaks down over time because it doesn't have any substance within it. What we're doing is that we are finding the substance, we are engaging the substance, and we are growing the substance with all the people, regardless of where they come from, regardless of whether they're on the left, the right. It doesn't matter to me. What matters is that they could hang, they can talk with us, they can, they could participate in this exchange of information and help everybody grow. And this is why I am grateful for all the chaos. I am grateful for everybody here in the chat. I am grateful for everybody here in this Zoom call of ours. Because this is how we're going to get out of this intellectually stifling paradigm that so many people have us.
We're breaking the conditioning.
We're breaking the conditioning!
This witch with pronouns in the bio says we only have 5 views. Wow, only 5 views.
Sorry, but my soul will devour hers because we're the ultimate souls. Her soul would just... Sorry.
Imagine how she would react to stepping in pasta. She probably would have a meltdown. You didn't even flinch,
it's fine.
dude.
That's the kind of people that we are. Not spiritually.
Exactly.
You know?
Look at this smoke person.
I
walked away once you left. It was really a shit show, from the furry memes to blatant disrespect. Oh, furry spotted. Furry spotted.
Furry disavowed.
Total waste of time. Wow. I love how they have to lie about you while they it's really
they have to justify their own stupid opinion. So they have to
let's go.
Yeah. You have to go after Lev.
And by the way,
who is
guys,
clearly a saint.
mask in the bio. Wow, talk about over socialization with a mask in the bio. That's really that's something else.
and by the way, guys. Yeah, I read this before. Okay, so don't forget to go to our Patreon. We are going to grow thanks to your help and thanks to your support.
Women posting that.
Eat her soul and then put the bowl he ate her soul in out on the floor. Well, I would, because her soul wasn't that tasty. It was tainted by Twitter.
By the way, okay, look at these wooden magnets for a second here. This is high quality wooden magnets.
Let's look.
None of the NPC people can make something like this. This is beyond their reach. They do not have a creative bone in their body like my father has. I love my father. I love my family. I think families are great. I think having a loving family is a beautiful thing, and I recommend everybody, if possible, to meet somebody in your life that can love you and you love them back, and you have a healthy, beautiful family with beautiful kids, and just have a good time of this life. But anyway, these are great magnets. They reflect the soul of my father, Alexander Polyakov, who put in so much work into making them. All of these not all these magnets could be yours. One of these will be yours for a $20 tier patronage to patreon.com/breaktherules. And if you become a $30 patron, you are going to get my main man Geo's prints right over here. You could see him in action over here making these beautiful prints from the TFW No GF series. They are exquisite. They are undeniable. $30 patronage gets you those prints, and $50 patronage is going to get you a custom magnet print. If you want my father, Alexander Polyakov, to create anything out of wood for you, you know what to do. $50 patronage. Aman Sadhu, he's a $50 patron. He recently got his custom magnet in the mail. So there we go. And by the way, when Juk says I love Lev's Jewish father, my father is actually the non-Jewish side. He's a Russian, Russian-Ukrainian. My mom is Jewish. Technically, that means I'm Jewish because my mom is Jewish. That kind of how it works. But my dad is a huge fan of a lot of Jewish mysticism stuff, which my mom, she's not really that much into. My dad is, for some reason. He's very esoteric. He's a very interesting person, very deep, very wise, very, very connected to the earth. So,
by the way, shout out to JC Denton, friend of the show.
Yes.
You did a good one, buddy. Thank you. So...
That's amazing. Oh my! I just saw it.
Oh boy! Oh no! Look at the top of her head.
If it's degenerate, ignore it.
As much as I thought at first the drama was bad, I think a little bit of drama might actually grease the wheels, as it were. Maybe a little.
It's like a little bit of pasta.
It's like a little bit of oil and a little bit of salt to the pasta. Yeah, I guess so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna keep bringing people in from all different walks of life. That is my mission for BTR, to bring people in who do not agree with each other, who come from different worlds, and see what happens. And there are people, as you've talked about before, Geo, that come here, that have a great time, that leave with a good impression, that want to come back. We had on a transgender Democratic politician from Texas, and she had a great time on the show. No problem at all. She'd love to come back. I'd love to have her back. So
no, it was sauce pasta. I should have taken a photo. I'm gonna have to take a photo now, aren't I?
Yes.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I know I'm bringing up all these different examples, but the reason being is that people actually come here
who don't my penis by accident,
who don't have a thin skin, and who don't get like all these NPCs to start coddling them, because they're actually interested in having a fucking conversation, about all kinds of different things. And they understand the nature of the internet is a chaotic environment. This is not a kiddie pool. This is not a hug box. This is an ocean with sharks and jellyfish and giant squid and all kinds of, fat nallas, just swimming on the surface. So anyway, guys, I think this is pretty much the end of the stream.
And we'll get the pasta photo first, because people people were saying it's now plain pasta. They don't understand. It's like I'm confused.
I love how you say
it's gotta be al dente, bro.
Yes, I love how you say it pasta rather than pasta.
Yeah, not pasta.
What's wrong with saying pasta?
It's incorrect.
Pasta is it's not incorrect. Do you understand what I'm saying? Then if you do, then I'm saying it correctly.
Oh, that's an American take. I would have thought that an English person would be more persnickety here.
No, I'm not persnickety. If you can understand, I say like jalapeno, whatever. Man.
Dude, you know what? That's actually funny because I spent a little bit of time in England, in London, and like a lot of the people who I met there would always correct me on my pronunciations, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm fucking American. I don't give a fuck. Americans pronounce shit how they want to pronounce it."
I just tell them. I mean, I may be American at heart. Who knows? I just hope my penis isn't reflected in this. So
okay, that
why
was
isn't
so apparently our conversation was misleading or annulled. Let's see. We have a clinical psychotherapist on the show. We have a fucking PhD on the show. So, but apparently,
my foot's in it.
Oh, he posted the picture.
Floor pasta. There it is. We all were wondering.
Shaking my damn head. You know what I think happened? You know what I think happened here? The bad mojo with the drama and the pasta. It must have been because this episode was dedicated to Aleister Crowley and his dark entity,
this is a haunted
his dark
stream.
shadow. Yes, his dark shadow.
You are right.
Must have been it. You know,
that's a shadow right there.
Stop doing djinn shit, and things like this won't happen to you. You won't cast.
That's what happens when you invoke a mystical sexual predator, you know, on your stream.
Yeah. Being cursed.
I love the ultimate hobo magic rapist. Aleister Crowley.
The thing is, I am actually like fairly. I know this might not. You might not believe this, but I would consider myself somewhat smart. I just do silly things. I know that's like surprising, but you know.
No, man, you're in good company.
Yeah,
that's 500 IQ to put your pasta on the floor. We just don't
live
understand.
like this. It's one fucking bowl on the floor. It's like from today. It's not from ages ago. Like I had this. Like,
God damn it.
Well, I'm not like living a bunch of
It's like it's only been on the floor for like 10 hours.
20
not
minutes.
that much.
I love how these people are melting, like the Georgina Simps are like melting down. Like I love this. Like this is just one tweet after another. It's hilarious. Like
they're writing discourse upon it. Like it's a whole thing.
Yeah. You mean to tell me that there's a part of occultism that had evil fascism in it? Like, oh my god!
You know what I think it is?
You're telling me that people who want secret power might be supremacists?
Oh, no way, bro!
They might think they're better than other people.
No, I don't think all Brits think that.
Wait, I have a theory about this. I think that there are people out there who may do rituals where it's very easy for maybe certain forces to get into their heads and live rent-free. I think right now the BTR stream is living rent-free in the heads of a lot of the people, a lot of the simps, because they made their vessels too open. They made their vessels too open to have any...
Blown the fuck out. Crowley blown the fuck out by Lev Polyakov right now.
Exactly.
So your egregore is defeating his, and it's not even close.
Exactly.
Absolute
reverse
flawless
Kundalini.
victory.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, not Lucas's room. No, I'm not doing any dodgy
Yeah, that's
things like
actually
Lucas,
that picture. I have to say, the picture of the pasta immediately made me think of Lucas's room.
No.
I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, boy.
All right, guys.
It's the lighting. It's
look, we
the
have Cottage Goth over here. Let's look at Cottage Goth. I learned a lot from Georgina. It's Cottage.
Oh, the license memes. You're not funny, man. Sorry.
The license memes.
That joke. The license memes are sailed, man. They're just that old stuff.
No, that's license is forever. You guys did it to yourself.
No, I didn't do it. I didn't do anything with the licensing. I'd abolish most of the license bullshit. Don't pin that on me, man.
Jug says, Geo, paint the pasta pic.
Oh, paint the pasta pic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Make sure you have the toe in there. The toe is important.
Paul had a very funny comment
No, you
earlier.
should paint the Speedos guy, Geo. You should paint Speedos. Dude, that'd be so cool. A bunch of my friends would love that, man.
Like when you were dressed in like the blue paint.
Yeah. They'd love that.
I
man.
should.
I should love that. You should paint him like I'm like somewhat muscly, not that muscly, but paint him like really muscular, like Greek statue. That'd be so
What, your toe?
No, not my toe.
Oh boy.
But like no, like the blue guy. I keep posting it, but I'll post it again. It's like the. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, the one I painted myself blue. There's also another one, but like my nips are out and that's like properly. So.
Yeah. By the way,
I painted myself blue. By the way, the guy who steps in past. I'm surprised you're not surprised.
There is a rap I really like from Tim and Eric, and look, I am no Eggy by any means, but it goes like this: My mom makes me tape my nips because my nips gets bloody when the skin rips, so I wear a tight shirt that blocks my nips. Nobody wants bloody nips.
Apparently that's a thing if you're a runner.
Wow.
Bloody
Yeah,
nipples.
it is.
Yeah.
Friction.
What?
The friction rips
Oh,
your
good
nipples
God.
open. No, that's real. Yeah.
But the strange
It
thing in
tears
that,
your skin open.
but the strange thing in that Tim
What does
and
it do
Eric,
to your nuts? Fuck.
but the strange
Oh,
thing
your
in that
nuts aren't being rubbed in the same way. It's not the same.
Nah.
Sorry, I'm just kidding.
No, but the weird thing in that Tim and Eric skit though was that Eric, when Tim was singing about having bloody nipples and how it's a problem, Eric was saying that this is a woman's problem and it's disgusting. And that's what I like about exactly, but that's why I like Tim and Eric's humor because they switch things up like that. So,
I forgot you were talking about Tim and Eric for a second.
Yes,
my bad.
Tim and Eric.
Yes. So
Oh
in
my
that world, in the world of Tim and Eric, there is something maybe kind of like a little bit inverted. You know, like the inverted tree of life. You know, the Quillpoth, which again, man,
Yes.
man, it's such a shame. Like we could have gotten into so many interesting things with her, and it's like,
We
what,
did.
what the, yeah.
She doesn't
yes,
know.
that's
She
what. That's
doesn't
the reason I
know.
got
Don't worry about it.
I got mad because I was just like, dude, you're actually. This would have been very interesting to talk about, but instead, you had to cry about chat.
Maybe she was just deflecting because she didn't have anything substantial to
You know
add
what?
to
If
the-
that's how she
dominated.
reacts to chat, she probably shouldn't be summoning entities into her.
I've summoned too many entities. We've got my little, like, what do you call them? Carb molecules, my carbohydrates going around the stream, the tomato stuff. They're going around the stream. They're running haywire on it. They're making her go mental. She's going insane as we speak. We're going to see an
she's
apology
being-
tomorrow. That's what's
She's
going to
been
happen.
hit with the
Oh,
virus.
So guys,
crazy.
I think this would be a good
Yeah,
time
this
to
is done.
Yeah,
end,
exactly.
to end the stream. Let's just do some shout outs before we go. Aman Sadhu, Chris Hastings, who says, why get bothered by words? Knowen, who says, Tim and Paul hash it out on BTR podcast. Wait, who's Tim and Paul? Okay, anyway.
How about Tim and Eric? That'd be
yes,
cool.
Tim and Eric.
On the pod, yeah.
EV.
How about Dylan and Eric? No, oh, nope, sorry.
Oh God.
Evie,
Jesus Christ.
okay, Evie says Geo is Lev's father.
Maybe. I
Maybe.
don't know.
Okay.
You know, maybe they're seething because you love your dad.
Oh, no.
Got him!
Oh,
Got
man.
him.
Okay. Byzantium Archon, who says Lev wants to end the stream and indulge in floor pasta. Putuna says, okay, so Putuna says paint him stepping in the pasta. We said that before. Okay, Buff. Jugs, as always, great Jugs. We got Ding Dong. Ding Dong. We got Majin Lu 22. I like the fact that your name rhymes, man. We got Paul. Who says, is Jugs a beautiful woman too? Absolutely.
Yes.
Then we have, who else? Oh, of course. Let's say it together, Gio. You know who I'm talking about. Wong Kar Wai Superfan XOXOXO.
By the way, shout out to my friend Julia, Sheepdog on Twitter. Shout out to her. You're amazing. So, yeah, that's one. Yeah.
I really want to get David Lynch on. That would be amazing. We are going to do, by the way, a Twin Peaks stream soon. I got to check when exactly we're going to do that, but hopefully it's soon. Anyway, then we have over here, who else? Ryan Drew, who says, shout out Byzantium Archon, next governor of Washington. Interesting.
Oh.
Then we have Maida Modern Radio, who says, I was thinking for a while that she was just being drama queen on Twitter and that it's not a good idea to feed a drama queen, but now I'm enjoying the bants about this. Also some good insight. Well, I appreciate that, Made of Modern Radio. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell, by the way. All the people who are listening to this right now, there are 55 people. I'm sure some of you have not subscribed yet, so please
55
subscribe
very
right now.
attractive people are watching the stream right now.
Yes, exactly. Incredibly attractive. Incredibly attractive. Anyway, we have, what else? Who else we have? Okay, here we go. Scum Sucking Slimer. Dude will eat her soul, then put the bowl he ate her soul out of on the floor. I'm not sure what he's talking about there. Let's see. Shizo Rick, a.k.a. Quantrell Bishop. Your wizard style is no use against my Shaolin Tiger style. I don't know what's going on here. Josh Sari Belly says, long live Lev. Oh, thank you very much. Well, I hope to have a good long life full of love, thanks to the energy all you guys are emanating out. And
oh wait, one more.
Okay.
One more thing. Let me post it in the chat. Look at this. This is the quintessential every single time right here. Let's see. Maybe acting this way is why they're still. We're just incels. Worse than Christian men in so many ways.
Dude, I can't find my Babylon. I really can't wait. I all I want is a whore goddess. Beautiful.
Animist. Let's. Oh my God! Look at this physiognomy check right here. I can't believe this.
No.
This is so fucking crazy.
All right, more people over here. Hold on. Let's see.
Neckbeards.
Yeah, we got a lot.
Shout out Apex.
We got a lot of new people here. Okay, so
shout out Peaks and Hyperion. Shout out Hero Alchemy.
Yes, always shout out Hero Alchemy.
Yes,
beautiful
always
photos.
shout out Hero Alchemy. Okay, I said Major League 22. Ding Dong, I said Ding Dong. Okay, I think these are pretty much the same folks over here. So, and by the way, I'm not going to post it right now just because, Tintin FTW 1 says this truly is the end of the Anglo. I think he was referring to the pasta situation from earlier on. Yes. And by the way, there was somebody who I saw on Twitter who wrote the word yikes. And I love that. I love it's just so, it's like the system works, like you can tell the archetypes, you can tell how much of an effect they've had.
Yes.
It's
guys,
very
look,
naked.
the occult, look at this. The occult has no place for bigotry and sexism. So when Crowley was raping those women in those orgies, I guess that there was no place for sexism in the occult. I don't know. That's kind of, that's something else there.
I have a feeling if David Lynch comes on and I'm in the same thing, I don't know how I'd somehow spill my spaghetti even more. I'd somehow
your entire floor would become.
I would just go through the floor. Yeah, the fire alarm would go off and then I set on fire. I don't know. It happened. It happened.
We got some guy here that's spiritually fluid that says that no one should participate in such blind platforms and shows. Wow, I love this hug box that they. I think it's mission accomplished. I think we did a good service for exposing.
Yeah, this is woo baby occultism. People.
This is woo baby witch occultism right here.
There's oh my God, life. I'm totally the mother of the forest. Everyone loves me so much, but it's really you're forgetting the ass. There's but 14 yards to your left, there's a pack of wolves mauling a baby deer to death, and you're just ignoring that aspect of this thing that you want to represent but can't handle what it really is. Well,
that's actually a great
life is hard here.
Well, like I said before, that is actually a really good representation of what the internet is and what people are missing out on in engaging with this side of it, because otherwise they're in the hug box and they don't get to actually I wouldn't say
you got to go into the mosh pit.
Exactly, and I wouldn't say call people out. What I would say is you go out there, and I think that way people who do know some to bring in people who are former generals or whatever. I want to bring in people who have life experience on this stream and to talk with them about all the things that are going on, because with this community too, that it's made up of all these different communities like 4chan or whatever for Twitter, but this community, I think it also has certain things, certain closed loops that never get opened. I don't even think it's because they don't want it to be open. I think it's generally that we don't have all the information all the time, and it's easier to assume certain things, and that's what people just go for. And I think that a lot of people here have good faith in being able to open up to new experience and see if it can, if it can stand the... I'm sorry, this is unacceptable. Yes, it's unacceptable to bring people together in this chaotic, beautiful experience of life that we are all in right now. And I am not apologizing. I love all you guys, even the ones who I disagree with.
Thank you, Jugs. Shout out to fucking Jugs.
Yeah, shout out to Jugs.
I haven't spoken to Jugs yet. I know she's a thing on the stream, right? She's one of the people that comes on.
Yeah, definitely.
Hotep. What's her name? Sorry, Hotep. What's her name?
Hotep Sophia.
Hotep. Yeah, a bit like Hotep. Yeah, she comes on
She really wanted to come in today. She just had some stuff that had to be done before, and it's pretty late right now. I don't know if she's gonna be able to come in.
Well,
I mean, we're ending the stream anyway,
late.
so
yeah.
Yes,
I've got to go to sleep as well. It's late here. I'm sure you guys have got shit to do too. So.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, that is it. This is the end, my friends. Mustache guy wrote cope to somebody else. Mustachemus, aka Stash is back. So good to see you in the chat. Stash is back. I know that he is in the Discord chat. So shout out to Stash is back.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, this is it. Good night. Thank you guys so much for
Thanks
watching.
Make sure to add my thing.
Appreciate it.
I have a
Thursday,
Twitter, so add it in the
Eli-
description.
That's
Eli-
right. Eli Schiff.
I didn't-
Thursday, Eli Schiff. That's going to be a legendary
The master
episode.
himself
I
of
can-
all design.
I can
The
feel
most
it.
hated man in design.
Yes.
Eli Chef.
And we're bringing another
Personal friend.
We're bringing another graphic designers as well to
Oh.
take part in the show. That and also
Oh, by the way, speaking of gutless cowards, like a lot of these simps, Lev DM'd every fucking digital designer known to man. Not one of them had the balls.
No, there was one. There was one.
There was one. Okay.
Yeah, who I think may be coming in. So there was one, but we'll see what happens. So there we go.
Hopefully it goes all right.
Yes, but I did message like 100 people or something. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys.
They didn't
that's
have
it.
the balls to debate Eli Chef.
No.
So.
All right, guys. That's it. I love you. Bye bye.
Yo,
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
No Jannies, no capos, no carrier pitch.